The video you're about to watch could change your life forever because for the last 2 years, I've documented my entire life going from a 15-year-old just posting his first video on YouTube to actually making over $1 million online using a YouTube micro channel. In this video, I've compiled all of my most effective strategies, including a complete series where I go from $0 to $10,000 a month in 32 days using a YouTube micro channel live, and I'm going to share everything in this video today. In addition to that, I have absolutely no course or free training to sell you below this video. This is just a compilation of all my best lessons, and I've time-stamped what each video is actually about below so you can go ahead and consume it at the right pace for you. In December of 2023, I restarted my coaching business from zero, and 30 days later, it scaled to $100,000 a month. Today, I'm going to be going through a 30-page document with all of our processes and showing you how we managed to do this while only posting 8 YouTube long-form videos. So here's what we're going to be covering today. The first thing that we have is the math and KPIs that guarantee 100K a month. The second thing is going to be the 8 videos we made to convert on this traffic. The third thing is the conversion and our no-brainer offer that we used. And then finally, the delivery and how we actually managed to get client results at scale. So first things first is the math, and pretty much business is a math equation. So if we can get the right strategy and KPIs in place, everything else is going to be easy. And for an info business, here is everything that you're ever going to need for acquiring customers. So the first thing that we have is lifetime value. This is how much a customer pays you throughout their entire time working with you. And the KPI that we have for this is $5,000, meaning that from when they begin to all the rebills during their contract period, they'll have to pay us $5,000. The next thing, which is very different, is the upfront cash collected. This is from when a customer hops on the sales call to when they begin becoming a customer, how much they pay you upfront to actually begin their service period. This is very different and is very important for the cash flow that we have, especially if we are going to run ads or just want to run the business in general in the future. The next thing is new clients onboarded. So for us, the KPI that we actually had to pull this off was 30 new clients given the 2 KPIs we had here. Next thing is appointment booked. The KPI that we had to book appointments was 125 throughout the entire month. The next thing is going to be the show rate, pretty standard on a warm traffic, which is 80%. And then overall appointments showed goes down to 100 out of the 125 we planned to book. Then going down to the next thing, which is outbound effectiveness. So of the messages we sent out to customers, whether that was through Instagram or LinkedIn, we expected 8% of them to book through per 100. So 8 per 100, and that is a KPI that I'm going to explain a little bit more in this video because it's pretty damn high. The next thing is going to be high quality outbound DMs. So given we're booking 8%, we'd plan on sending out around 25 per day, which means that we should have 1 to 2 appointments coming through. So now I'm going to cover some stats that you probably haven't seen before for YouTube organic. The first thing is called a YouTube to funnel click-through rate. So this is the overall percentage of YouTube views you get that end up actually looking at your web page or your funnel, whether that is through the pinned comment or the description. So we need 5% of the people to do that. So if we get 100 views, we need 5 people to click through per 100. The next thing is going to be the total YouTube views, which is 25,000. Next thing is funnel conversion, so the amount of just people that click on your funnel that end up booking a call with you. The next thing is the page views, so the total amount of traffic that we need to our funnel in general. And then the third thing is the showed close rate. So to explain the math and how this works, we pretty much need of 25,000 views, 5% of them to click through to our funnel page, which leads to 1,250 page views, which at our 8% leads to the 125 booked appointments we need before even sending any outbound messages, which I'll cover a little bit more in the future. And there's 2 major differences between how most coaching businesses scale in general, which is we don't run any paid ads to do this, as I mentioned, and we have pretty average pricing. We don't have a crazy high ticket price of a $20,000 product or anything. We managed to do this with extremely reasonable numbers, and the reason we chose not to run paid ads in this period is because we didn't want to put the business at a risk of burnout. We wanted to build a strong service delivery infrastructure and actually have MRR rolling into the next month so that we had a foundation to actually run paid ads off of. And we also wanted to have a strong organic base because we understood that that's what's going to make us legit in the industry going forward and actually building a reputation. Now, when we had previously made OKRs or KPIs like the one I just showed you, we usually abandoned them within the first 7 days of making them and never really looking at them again. However, the core difference that we made with this strategy that allowed us to scale was that we actually tied each of the numbers to repeatable action that we were committing to. So instead of doing new work in a coaching business, like trying to hire out a new CSM or trying to build a new asset or a new funnel or a new offer or a split test, we decided to dedicate all of our time into skill-based verticals that compound. And again, this is where most coaches screw up. They love to create systems, new stuff, and it just isn't necessary. The repeatable skill-based actions were producing undeniable social proof assets, creating an extremely high quality YouTube video, and mastering our outbound process. Outside of these three things, we literally did not do any other work. So we'd wake up in the morning and we'd have 10 to 12 hours of pure focused work into just doing these three things. And what this did is allowed us to create a flywheel that had actions that legitimately compounded on top of each other, even if we weren't perfectly consistent. And the reason I say that is because you've probably seen a flywheel that looks similar to the one I just showed you, but a lot of the time it isn't actually working. It doesn't actually compound onto each other. The case studies would just be randomly posted on YouTube, and it's not scattered into a cohesive effort that you can have. And this is where I actually introduced the undeniable social proof asset. A USPA is an overall theme of your content. So it's not a few one-off videos or interviews, it is a theme throughout your entire content and mission of your business that constantly is proving your legitimacy time and time again every single time that is mentioned. For us, this was a documentary series. What we did is we restarted a business in the niche we were actually operating in, and we practiced what we preached and showed all the strategies that we were charging our clients for, working in action to see success within the fields that our clients were actually working in. And what this did is it made everything completely unique to our business and really just made it so nobody could copy us at all. And it's something that I've seen almost every seven-figure coach that I've ever met execute, whether they realize it or not. Now, it doesn't actually have to be a documentary. There are 4 core versions of a USPA that I want to cover for you in this video. The first one is the documentary that we made, where we transparently share everything we're doing within our journey. This is the most extreme format of trust, and transparently, it's not very sustainable because it requires you to run 2 businesses at the same time. So even though it proves market validity and inspires a non-salesy frame, it is a massive time sink, and the infrastructure of one company will have to suffer unless you have some form of business partner or operator that's actually going to be running the other one for you. To show you some examples of what this actually looks like, we had our documentary series, as you can see here, where you have the 7 episodes of us actually scaling our agency. You can check this out on your own time if you'd like. Another example of this is this series by a guy named Cam Mounier, where he does an excellent job of documenting daily the process of him starting a content agency from zero. Now, the second version of doing this, which I recommend you actually transition to after doing a USPA documentary for a short period of time, is what I like to call a personal story. So after doing the documentary, as I mentioned, you are now the authority in the eyes of your ICP. So what you want to do is just share all the success stories that you have in a way that doesn't come across as too salesy or too kind of guru-like. And the pros of doing this is it still positions you as a natural authority. It requires no additional time to do, so you can focus everything into the coaching business, and it still makes you undeniable and unique. Now, the cons of this are that customers might have will it work for me objections. They're going to say, would it work today? Is he different from me for this reason? And really what you have to do is you have to develop expert storytelling and production skill in order to actually show people that you are legitimate and that these things actually can work for them. 2 examples of this actually happening is me right now as I'm telling you this story about my coaching business, and a very famous example of someone executing this at a high level is, as you know, Iman Gadzhi and all the videos about how he scaled his own marketing agency that have become pretty much iconic in this space. Now, the third one is a client partnership USPA, where you pretty much partner closely with a client or a viewer, someone within your ecosystem that your viewer can relate to, and build their business using your framework and using the things that you teach while documenting the entire thing as if it were the documentary. The pros of this is it still has the authority frame, if not stronger, because you're actually showing you teaching somebody in real time, and it shows proof that the system can work for others if you succeed. The cons of this are that it requires relatively high time involvement because you have to actually go ahead and teach another person, which oftentimes is going to take more to actually do it yourself. And your success lies in their execution. So for whatever reason, if they aren't able to see success, that's going to reflect negatively on you. So it's kind of out of your control. And I recommend you do these series for very short bursts, as I'm going to show you here. One of the examples of this was a partnership that my coaching business actually did, where you can see my partner Dylan here. We actually reviewed this guy named Saeed, who was a 16-year-old kid from Argentina, reviewed all of his sales calls as he was trying to start his marketing agency, and did a few more videos as you can see here. So you can see we hop on and almost teach him as if he were a customer, and you can see there's very positive reception because it shows from the perspective of a viewer. The next thing you can do, which you've probably seen, is just these teaching a stranger how to do X videos. And these are great one-off opportunities. If you don't have case studies, you can restart, achieve a minor result, and still have that very strong authority frame that you can use as a sales asset. The third is what I like to call an authority review USPA. So this is taking respected and known names in your space and highlight the success that actually reflects in your given vehicle and what you do. So a great example of this is if you are talking exclusively about YouTube and you review very successful YouTubers, you can find strategies that you preach on your channel that they're executing in real time. The pros of this, it gives a transfer of credibility through the borrowed authority that you actually have. It breaks the trust and resistance barriers automatically because they trust the people that you're often talking about. And getting views is a lot easier because you can kind of trend jack all of their name and the traffic that's going to it. The cons of this are that you are not positioned as the authority and they are. And the third thing is that people aren't actually going to be building a resonation with you. You're going to be the guy that reviews other people, which isn't really going to be great when it comes to inspiring conversions. So you want to do this within moderation. A few examples of this is actually one of my clients here, Stefan, where he does these Alex Hormozi SMMA videos, where you can see he'll take a snippet from Hormozi and apply it to agency-specific stuff. And then another example of this actually happening is a guy named Ryan Matthews, who you've probably seen before, where he pretty much just takes every single popular person in the info space, breaks down the funnel they're using, why it's working, and what you can learn from doing it. And these are both great examples, and you want to take these and figure out what you can actually have to create an undeniable social proof asset that is constantly recurring in your business so that your content is completely unique, because at the end of the day, that is the goal. You want to be one of one so that nobody can replicate what you have and everything pertains to your unique story and your unique mechanism. Now, from that point on, you actually need to find a way to exercise your USPA and push it out to your market. The first way of doing this is outbound, and I only recommend you do outbound for a very small period of time to test the actual validity of your offer on people that don't know you, complete strangers, and incorporate the angles and objections you get in order to actually have great marketing and be able to book calls from your YouTube. And this should not be wishy-washy at all. What I actually recommend you do that we built out was a foundational copywriting document where you can see for an example agency owner, we would go through and identify everything about this person, their age and life stage, their education levels, their cultural influences, who they watch, their core values, personality traits, interests, habits, communication styles, what they actually go through in their pivotal experiences, all the way down to the problems in their business, which is where we get really consistent and are able to actually find the angles that we say in our marketing, that we say in all the posts we make to actually inspire conversions from all of these people. Now, once you've completed your foundational copywriting document and kind of got a grip on your market, if you don't already have one with outbound, you're going to be putting all of your effort into organic YouTube. And I know this sounds crazy if you're running a bunch of ads right now or trying any other strategies, but you are able to convert just off of this alone. And I know it looks a little bit underwhelming, but remember, we're optimizing for depth rather than width in what we're actually investing into. So instead of trying, as you can see here on the second screen, 8 different split tests of this funnel, this offer, and all that crazy stuff, we're committing all of our energy into just organic YouTube, or 2 split between organic YouTube and outbound if you haven't tested your offer, in order to get the absolute maximum yield off the activities that are going to generate us the most revenue. And we applied the exact same logic to our funnel during this 30-day period. This was the flow of our entire setup. We had our YouTube videos, then we had our YouTube description and our top YouTube comment that was pinned to a one-page calendar, just a one-page calendar, simple as that, which went to automated reminders that we didn't even bother optimizing or setting up a nurture or indoctrination sequence off of. We just had them as the basic reminders. It was, as I considered, like drop dead simple, almost to a fault. Again, our goal was to get the maximum leverage out of the core activities of the YouTube and of the outbound. So instead, when we were trying to break a revenue goal and scale as quickly as we were, we decided to remove as many variables as possible and create the least friction possible from someone wanting to actually work with us to becoming a customer in order to see how fast we could actually scale. The second thing that we did is the 8 videos that converted. And this is going to be by far the most valuable part of this video. So now that we've covered the entire setup and how we went deep into certain verticals and the KPIs that we're actually optimizing for, I want to show you how we actually made these YouTube videos from a simplified fashion of entrepreneur to entrepreneur, not a social media expert. And when you're making a YouTube video, here is literally every input variable, so things that you have to make in order to actually control a YouTube video's performance. You have the idea, you have the title, you have the thumbnail, you have the hook, so the first 5 to 30 seconds of the video. Then you have the editing on the back end, you have the asset that you're covering within the video, and then you have the call to action to actually have people go forward into your funnel or into whatever kind of offer system you had. And really, to achieve YouTube mastery, you want to engineer these initial input variables, as you can see here, into the 3 following outputs, which is an 8% or more click-through rate. So when your YouTube video shows on the homepage or in the suggested of YouTube, like on the right-hand side of me right now, you need 8% of those people to actually click through. You need a 3-minute and 30-second average view duration, which means when someone clicks on your video, they have to spend on average 3 minutes and 30 seconds. And then as you can see here, this is a 35% average percentage viewed. So they need to view 3 minutes and 30 seconds and also 30% of the video in order for YouTube to keep pushing it and have this video shoot anywhere, depending on the topic, from 5,000 all the way up to 50,000 views with the KPIs that I just showed you here. And when I show you how to actually run YouTube this way, it becomes a lot more similar to media buying for all the guys that run ads on this video. The idea is the angle of the actual ad that you're making. The title is the headline, the thumbnail is the creative, the hook is always going to be the hook. The editing is the editing, the asset is the mechanism that you share within the ad, and the call to action is the offer that you make. And I know this might seem like a lot of information that I just shared with you about YouTube videos, because I know it did to us, but if you haven't produced YouTube videos before, it's fine, because we're going to massively simplify this down to a system that actually makes sense. And the way we do that is we completely get rid of these 3 things here. We do not need the editing, asset, or call to action. All we need is the idea, the title, the thumbnail, and the hook. And we don't even need to worry about the average percentage viewed, because all we care about is the average view duration. And we ran our entire 7-figure YouTube department without any team members by leveraging AI in the way that I'm going to show you in this video, because we executed on each of the following functions properly. So first things first is the idea. And this is by far the most complicated and annoys me the most out of anything regarding YouTube, because so many people misunderstand it and I mess it up for so long myself. I had to drill this following phrase into my head, which is that creativity is not required to make banger YouTube videos. There are only 5 foundational pain points in any given market that is going to make somebody actually go ahead and convert. What I mean by that is there's only 5 foundational ideas. It's like the idea that there's only health, wealth, and relationships that you can actually talk about in business. And really, most coaches, including myself, try to come up with a new idea every time, a new angle, something completely different that they've never done before, and it will just completely flop, and YouTube becomes this guessing game that almost seems impossible in launching a video out to the algorithm without knowing what it's going to do. And it sucks a lot, because the foundational pains that you probably already know off the top of your head can have an infinite amount of variations created of them with just little small changes every single time that your viewers are going to keep watching. And you're able to repeat yourself, and it guarantees they perform time and time again. Your audience is always going to be satisfied, and you won't burn out ideas, because over time, if you make a very small change to each video over the course of a dozen videos, small change, small change, small change, small change, and you compare your content 1 month ago to the content you're producing now, it's completely different, but the entire time you still kept your audience satisfied without taking any crazy swings or ever feeling like your content was uncertain, and therefore allowing you to actually rely on YouTube as a consistent customer acquisition platform. And if you don't have any winning angles that you've already posted, I want you to really think about your story, the foundational pains that your customer's facing, to actually draft what these initial angles might be, and just look at what your competitors are posting on YouTube, because chances are their top viewed videos are exactly what the pain point is going to be for yourself, and you just need to insert a unique mechanism into the video, which I'm going to cover in just a second here. But An initial winner for us when we actually rolled this strategy out was that SMMA owners or marketing agency owners cared a lot about their habits, productivity, calendar, and the tasks to work on. This was a massive, massive pain point above the outreach and all the other stuff. So what we realized is that we can continuously remake video after video after video after video on this topic and still be able to actually get conversions off of this entire process. As I dive into the view duration section here, a perfect example of this again is Iman, who, as the top dog in the niche that we operated in, I counted has made over 12 variations of videos talking about habits in some way, shape, or form that all attract that ideal SMMA owner. And they all pretty much cover the exact same thing with just little variations, and the viewers watch them time and time again. Now, before I actually show you how I come up with the ideas, titles, and thumbnails for these videos, I want to cover the average view duration and why we got rid of the average percentage viewed. Because one of the things we realized is that the easiest way to acquire clients was to focus on the following equation: the length of the video plus the quality of information equals the effectiveness that it has. The core thing to highlight is the length of the video here. The more time someone spends with you, the higher chance that they actually have of buying from you down the line. And if a click warrants that they watch a certain percentage of the video, why not elongate that click to being worth as much time as possible? And usually the cap for this is around 1 hour, unless it's a special video like a free course, etc. And to explain what I mean, 33% of an 8-minute video is 2 minutes and 38 seconds, and 33% of a 56-minute video is 18 minutes and 29 seconds. And the 33 percentage at a 56-minute video might drop down to something like 25%, but regardless, this bottom one is still exponentially more time spent with you and with your content to make them convert again, which is also going to go to the algorithm, which means that again, YouTube's going to push this video more and more and more because they value what is called session watch time, meaning that this bottom video here is actually around 9 times, if not less effective than the much longer video right here. So my point that I'm trying to get across is you want to make extremely long videos. And there's so many people that have executed this to a T. If I were to go to a guy like Narrow Knowledge, who maybe you've seen on YouTube, and take a look at his popular videos, you'll see that again here, they're all above that 30-minute mark, with the shortest one being 33 minutes. If I were to go to somebody else like Sam Sulek, who went crazy viral and was kind of the catalyst for this trend, you can see here that the shortest video in his top 4 most popular is 46 minutes long. If I were to go to William Brown, another person in the info space, you can see all of his top videos have that same much longer length, of the shortest one being around 11 minutes and the top ones all being from 22 minutes to an hour long. And then finally showing you Alex Hormozi, someone who is known to have been studying the YouTube algorithm with a massive team, whose every single video he's uploaded even recently is all between the 30-minute to an hour mark, and his most popular all being in and around that hour-long mark. It is a literal fact at this point that if you aren't making long videos, you are leaving money on the table. And again, this is a realistic example. A friend of mine named Jackson Williams, who doesn't get a crazy amount of views per video, but you can see using these long style videos, with the shortest here you can see being around 20 minutes long, he's able to inspire massive conversions even with boring style document videos. So your ideal customer cares about you getting very granular, very specific, like I am doing right now on these core topics, because that is what creates value, and you want them to spend time with you so they can actually become a fan of you and like what you're sharing. Because an 8-minute video, a 10-minute video, even like less than that, doesn't do justice to the information that you're actually going ahead and sharing with them. Now, diving into the process of how I actually do this all. As a disclaimer, I'm not partnered with any of these tools. I don't even have an affiliate link. I use them purely because they are good. And the first one of these is called vidIQ. So vidIQ is pretty much a YouTube software plugin that you can use both as an extension and a separate site. And the most useful feature on this entire site for me is this keyword section here. When I'm producing YouTube videos, I like to type in keywords that I'm trying to optimize for. So if I were to make a video about a coaching business and type this in, as you can see right here, I would look at first off the search volume of this keyword and the competition for it. Now, this alone is not going to find you a mythical winning video idea. However, what you're going to do from this point on is you're going to dive into the first off related keyword section to see just in general what is related to your keyword. So a great example of the coaching business keyword would be something something like life coaching. It's an adjacent niche, but it's not particularly the same thing, just getting an idea of what those are. And then the most important two, which are matching terms and questions. So in the question section, you can see what people are actually asking and typing into the search bar. So if I were to search how to start a coaching business, it means that literally this keyboard right here is being searched by roughly around 4,801 people. And you can see on the top two videos within this niche, they both have views that actually reflect that based on when they were last uploaded. If I were to click into any of these right here and use the extension plugin that I have for vidIQ on the side, you can see that we know the video is getting views based on its search term ranking because it's slowly climbing on this little exponential curve, as you can see right here. Another example of me doing this is with the keyword school. When this platform was going viral and everyone was trying it, I figured I'd share the school funnel that I was personally using and how I actually installed it into my coaching business. So I head to vidIQ just like this, and I saw that, dang, this keyword has a really high competition and it also has a really high search volume. So it's kind of a high competition, but also high reward situation here. And I went to the matching terms to see if there's anything else. And I saw terms like school community, and I also saw terms like school funnel. If I were to head to the keyword school community, scroll down a good bit here, you would see one of my videos just around here where I say copy my beginner friendly school funnel. And if you were to type in school funnel on YouTube just like this, you would see my keyword is actually the top result here. And if I were to click into this video and show you the analytics of it actually performing, you can see that over the period of since it's been uploaded, it has consistently gained views around 22 every 48 hours for the last 6 months or so since it's been uploaded, and climbed consistently from, after the first 17 days, 2,400 views to now being at around 4,000 views. And that is the power of actually using keywords to find winning search terms and make video ideas based on that, is just going here, typing in these matching terms and creating videos off of them to align with your customer pain points. And once you've got one winning angle on this, I have the ability to remake videos on school whenever I please, talking about school funnels, school communities, and I know it's going to work with the exact same title and thumbnail format, because all I'm going to do is I'm going to head over to ChatGPT just like this, and I'm going to type in a prompt that pretty much says this video performed extremely well, to show you how easy it can be to actually just repeat these videos and still get the same performance, same conversions. There's a different variation and different angle. ChatGPT just gave me 10 variations here, and if you're questioning, well, is this actually going to work? Here is a video that I repeated around a month later that got similar performance and still actually ranks on the SEO, even though it doesn't get as many views, that pretty much follows the exact same naming scheme. I launched another business using school, 100K a month, exact same kind of thumbnail format, and it also performed extremely well. So I know that that's a winning format on my channel that I can repeat time and time and time again. The next strategy I use is using a software called ViewStats, which is actually made by Mr. Beast and his team that I've seen almost nobody else talk about in the info education space. Here's the platform right here. It costs around 50 bucks a month to purchase. And in the thumbnail search section, what it actually does is it shows similar thumbnails to ones that you upload. So if I were to put in one of my videos here that has a winning thumbnail and high click-through rate, I can see exact kind of winning thumbnails and videos that follow the same themes that are actually going to go ahead and work. And to show you the thumbnail that I actually had on that video, it was this one right here. I quit my 32K a month SMA, then made 500K with coaching. I took it completely from this video from Charlie Morgan and managed to see, respective to my channel size at the time, extremely good success off of that video here. If I were to take that video that I just showed you about school, I were to copy paste that in, I'd be able to see an entirely new set of different thumbnails that all follow kind of the same format. And I have many different search options that I can use. I can check by outlier score and see what respective to channel size performed well. And I can also see more relevant ones that were posted more frequently and just get general ideas when I like something. So if I were to go back to that Charlie Morgan thumbnail that I really liked and actually managed to make a video on, I could click into it. And then from that point on, see a whole bunch of other similar thumbnails of how people are kind of mastering this organic looking approach and how they actually position the title to get a winning actual code and winning program system. in a different niche that I can go ahead and pull over. And that is exactly how I use View Stats Pro. The final example that I actually use in combination with all these things is I will just head to my channel just like this, or I will head to channels that are extremely similar to mine, and I'll click on the popular section and I will look at videos like this and I'll ask ChatGPT to go ahead and review my entire channel and give me new ideas that I can actually have to variate and see success based on what has already worked. Now I'm going to show you thumbnails, which is something that I see almost every business info creator mess up. They either have extremely low quality Canva thumbnails, or they actually just go ahead and not use a thumbnail or pay some form of thumbnail graphic designer that makes them look like they're in an AI Mr. Beast video. And I've managed to find the happy medium. Transparently, as you can see on my screen here, I actually still use Canva, and I've been able to produce some extremely high click-through rate, anywhere between that 5 to even up to like 11% click-through rate mark, just sitting here on Canva doing the basics just at a higher level and knowing what components of a thumbnail actually make them work. So for example, this was a documentary series that I actually did on my channel, and each of these videos averaged around a 4% click-through rate. As you can see here, it is a simple set of elements. I have a shadow feature, I have a day, I have my current revenue, and I just have an image on in the background. Simple as that. And if I were to go down to some more designed thumbnails that I made, you'd be able to see the exact same theme even on my more recent videos. What you're actually looking at right now was the thumbnail draft for the video you're watching, and I simply made this in Canva, throwing together the designs with simple features and simple text. It took me around 10 to 15 minutes to do, and from that point on produced into the asset that actually made you click and end up on this video here today. And once again, you can see it's done extremely simply. The elements aren't too complicated. Where I can profess a lot of the confusion and success that we were able to see with our thumbnails is one simple thing, which is when we wanted to create a thumbnail, we would grab a notepad just like the one that I see right here, and we'd pull out a piece of paper and we would go ahead and just draw the thumbnail that we actually have. So we'd make a little box like this, and from that point on, we're going to put a face in it. And then any element that we actually want to include is going to be put on either side of it right here. If you think that's an exaggeration or a step you can skip, this is the secret for me behind thumbnails, and what makes them easy to create is I will just go ahead and draw the top performing thumbnails and similar thumbnails that I find based on that view stats search I saw earlier. And then from that point on, when I actually take it to Canva, it's extremely easy to throw and put together, as you can see right here, which ended up going into the thumbnail that I just showed you there before. And that is the entire process that I use for creating thumbnails. Now I want to cover the numbers, which are another extremely important element. Because when you're creating titles and thumbnails, the most important thing to create winners is not being a master of graphic design. It is purely creating a volume that is unreasonable not to find which one works best. And then also to just use AI as a consultant, uploading screenshots and just sending it to the AI to ask them which one do they think performs best from a YouTube clicking perspective. And from what I've seen, the actual discrepancy between my split test and the AI of ChatGPT has only been around 25%, which means that 75% of the time, ChatGPT is going to be 100% accurate as to which thumbnail is by and large the most appealing to my ICP, after I obviously grill it a bit and show it what everything is what's going on. So in order to actually come up with the variations that I'm going to be creating, I'm going to make around 25 different title variations. So when my initial idea and title, I'll take 25 different variations of it. And then what I'll also do is I'll go ahead and I will flip the thumbnail drawings, and I'll make around 10 to 15 of those before I even put my hands onto my computer to do any form of graphic designing. Using that, I'll upload all the pictures to ChatGPT, and it will give me the reasoning on what packaging is actually going to perform the best when I actually go ahead and execute it. You can see for even the video you're watching right now, I have all of my title variations, and then in addition, the thumbnail foundations, and then also the drawings as I just showed you. And the reason I'm showing you a more recent video and not the documentary that we actually use to scale to 100K a month is because, as I showed you before, the actual thumbnails for that video and the titles were extremely similar and just all made by that same Canva template I showed you earlier, since we picked the documentary approach and didn't do that personal frame as I mentioned a little bit later on. Now, the only thing that is left within YouTube content is the actual process of structuring the video and the call to action. And the actual process that we have for this is what we like to call the expert zone, meaning that when you are the expert, you are the person teaching for whatever given vertical you coach in, you really just don't need a crazy structure, because just talking to the camera like I am right now, or with an asset like I have pulled up on screen, you can cover everything. And you don't need to overthink the call to action or have a crazy script or any crazy editing at all. You can just sit there in front of the camera and talk. And that is what's going to inspire the most conversions, because once again, it is extremely similar to the product that they'd actually be buying from you. And the closer that you can have that product line up to that overall experience within the video is to the extent that you are going to be able to see success with the YouTube videos that you actually end up posting. And when I say kickstart, I mean we only did this for 3 days to get some appointments and customers in the front door. And what really the reason that we didn't test it against paid ads is because we had no existing pixel. So we knew that we'd have to spend thousands before getting shown to the right audience consistently. We didn't want to invest into production and props to see success because we were overall just committed to making sure YouTube Organic was the cash cow of our business. And we didn't have the resources to spend without knowing the sunk cost. Again, we're planning to do this for a short period of time. So we figured that outbound is going to be the more sustainable version. And if you want to build your business off YouTube Organic the same way that we did, this is going to be the reason why outbound is probably the better choice for you, at least initially. And really, I believe that this was one of the biggest strengths that we personally had, at least with the goals that I have for my coaching business, because I can admit that paid ads just really weren't going to be something that we could consistently spend on without stressing. We didn't have the resources, and in fact, it was our superpower because it allowed us to find different solutions. And really, with the outbound messaging, to dive into the strategy, we didn't really want to follow that same hook to pitch framework that you get thousands of times in your DMs every single day. We had two winning approaches. The first thing that we did is we sent them an upfront personalized asset if the resources were available on their page. And the second thing we did was we would just send them an upfront master asset, something that's not specific to them, but is just generally speaking valuable to solve a common pain that they are likely experiencing. And went to the platforms that we knew our customers hang out on. For example, for us, that was Instagram and LinkedIn. And we used the following message strategy. We would go and like 3 of their posts. We would leave an unreasonably long comment. And the reason we did this is because when someone sees a comment that's like, hey, I had this experience and this relates to me because of XYZ reason, this person starts to ask themselves, well, why did they leave this such long comment? Well, thank you, I appreciate it. They'll often respond. And human reciprocity means that when they see your message and they see the asset that they gave to you, they're going to be a lot more inclined to actually look at it, respond, and just, see what you have going on. So from that point on, we send the initial message, which is like, hey, name, I saw you were doing personalized call out. So if they're posting YouTube videos or if they're going ahead and running Facebook ads, hey, I saw you doing this with your company. And I wanted to point out this personal similarity with my story that actually got me this desired result. And really, I made this asset of value for you, and let me know what you think. From that point on, you're going to deliver this with a 10-second handheld video where you just hold your phone in selfie mode like this, introduce yourself, say hi, share what you're doing, everything about you, and then really link access to that asset. And using that strategy alone, you're going to be able to move forward to converting 8% of those 100 messages that you send. And we did not include a CTA in that first message. We literally just sent the raw asset and value, because what it means is that the person has no reason not to respond. They can't say, oh, are you pitching me? Is there this or that? You've left an unreasonably long comment that shares your story and everything you do, and you've given them a free asset. You've asked for nothing in return. So oftentimes you're going to say thanks, da 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 da. And from that point on, you have now opened the conversation to actually execute and close them. Now, examples of how you can actually make this free delivery asset. You can do something like creating a title, thumbnail, script for them, or creating a store for them, or if you're an e-com or some other niche where you can't really specify it to them initially because they're more of a biz op learning how to start, you can send them something like the best niches. Right? Like, what are the best niches to move into for this given thing? What are the best AI automation niches? Or what is a potential winning product list for March or April or whatever month of 2025, and send that off to them. And really, the delivery assets can be easily automated with AI. You just want to create one super high quality framework that then you're going to ask GPT to be able to create multiple times into a format. And I personally like to deliver them all through custom docs and Notion pages that you send to them in this section of the message right here. And that is the entire process for actually going ahead and executing on the outbound. Once they responded back, I would record an audio message back, not text. You want to do an audio message back, like handheld voice, explaining a little bit more about your strategy and then cutting yourself off to actually explain, like, oh, we should probably hop on a call so I can show you more about this. So for example, if I were to send someone a niche on AAA or AI automation, and they were to go like, oh, I really like this random niche, you would send a voice message where you say, oh yeah, this niche could work for XYZ reason, da 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 da. And hey, I mean, to be frank, I can't really do it justice just over this voice message like this. I would much prefer if we just hop on a call. I could explain a little bit more about how it works and we can kind of just meet each other. And oftentimes, if you're doing a great job of leaving the comment and made an asset that's genuinely valuable, which will be reflected in the response that they have to it, you'll be able to secure that call. Then from that call, you'll be able to maneuver them likely into a 2-call close onto whatever offer you have, and whether it's good or not, you'll now know whether your cold traffic offer actually works. And the KPIs that we track for doing this are total messages sent. So overall outbound sent, the response rate off of those, the response to book rate, and it allowed us to see whether our actual bottleneck was going to be the call to action that we had with the voice message or whether it was the hook message. Then we have the total call booked rate. So this is where we actually want to have 8% here. And we had the total booked calls. And the only other factor that we optimized for in this entire process was the appearance of our profile and the overall way that it looked. We wanted to appear as a hyper niched expert in the specific problem that our customer was trying to solve. And then again, because we niched ourselves down, we would appear a lot more of an authority frame, regardless if we didn't have a crazy amount of followers. So here's a diagram from the book $100 Million Offers, which is actually the topic of my last video. And you can see here that a simple time management product, just more specified down to B2B power tools for gardening and sales reps, went from a price point of $19 all the way up to $2,000 just by getting more specific. And you don't need to come up with a crazy offer per se. The crazy offer can be the fact that you are the foremost expert in delivering a drop shipping product for a women's skincare product. And now there's really nobody else competing with you doing that given thing. So because of that, even though you're not the number one expert in the world, you're the only person who speaks to that specific problem and become the number one authority to solve it for whatever customer you are actually targeting for. So now we're on step number 3, which is our no-brainer offer. And I already kind of covered the funnel structure we use in this video. Again, we have the YouTube description that goes to a one-page calendar with automated reminders, and it works for the following reasons. It has the least possible interest, customer friction, conversion, and again, the least variables to manage. However, we had tried this before and it hadn't worked in the past. Maybe you've tried it and you've just got no schedules at all before. And we made the same mistake, and every single coach I know to this day makes this mistake. And it's because assuming that just because the funnel structure is simple, the positioning isn't actually important. And this is a lesson learned hard, but you still have to add marketing and positioning to the way that your entire offer and funnel looks. And we found this out throughout the month by running split tests on our Calendly and YouTube description page, which I'm going to show you how to do right now. So if you have a simple Calendly account, just like the one that I have right now, you can go ahead to the integrations and apps page, type in Google, and then from that point on, click to the analytics section here, and you'll be able to just click connect integration, which is then going to give you access to, as you can see here, example analytics, where you can see the amount of page views and schedules on your given calendar. So you can see that on this example calendar, I'm not sure which one I actually have it connected to, but I've got 2 active users in the last 28 days of this calendar. So I know that this calendar is probably not great and whatever I'm running probably needs to be changed. However, this was the way that we split tested and made sure everything was checked. And even though the simple funnel appears as this kind of effortless thing, we have clear data where we see how effective it actually converts for people. So again, after 14 days of vigorous testing, there was a clear winner above all others. It didn't have any crazy guarantees, and the only promise that it had for customers was that they would make their money back with us. And our dream outcome that we sold was $25K a month in 90 days, the same way that we actually showed in our documentary USPA. And the secret sauce that made this work was we positioned everything as an application funnel. So first off, we found a genuinely unique way of delivering the product to customers that answered their number one pain point. So a lot of people in our niche had gone through group coaching programs or course content, and we decided to do one-on-one consulting at scale. So you could pay a less qualified agency owner for his time directly. And a lot of the time you get one call a week and a response like twice a day. So we decided, all right, let's screw that. And we're going to give you somebody you can speak with up to 3 times per week and is going to respond to you within working hours, 30 minutes. So you can ask any question that you actually have. And it worked so much because our customers have struggled so much and dealt with so much pain around masterminds and around just people that weren't giving them the effort when it came to response times and attention. And we said we're going to go the opposite and give them the most attention possible. The second thing is that we flipped the sales process and made them apply to work with us. So our closers were called advisors, and even though they had little experience beforehand, they would interview and ask qualifying questions to someone that landed on our calendar. And it wasn't this awkward way to see if we could actually onboard them to our product. We were legitimately interviewing them to see if they were qualified to actually get the end result. And if they were qualified, we would move to a second call where we showed them our OKR sales asset and made them an offer. So if you're looking for an equivalent of this kind of framing that we use on our funnel and calendar, you can go to ChatGPT and type in the following prompt of, in my niche, customers are used to seeing this kind of service delivery. We want to go a little bit more in depth here, explain the pains that they're facing. Then, when they bought the offers, they got this kind of service delivery, which they weren't happy with. And now I want you to show me every format that I can deliver my offer in, which is completely unique. And by doing this, you're going to come up with a lot of different kind of positionings that you can split test on your calendar. You can also try and copy the application one to see if it works for your given niche and the offer that you run. It will especially work if it's kind of like a boutique exclusive thing where you yourself, the coach, is working with people one-on-one. Now, from that point on, try multiple split tests, try out Calendly, YouTube, continuously test until you find a winner that converts at that KPI of 8% we covered before. Now we have the final phase, which is service delivery and getting results at scale. And this is by far my favorite part of the video. If you're watching, you are a real one. Now, service delivery is the easiest client acquisition channel that already exists and is a function within your business. So you don't actually have to do anything extra to make it turn into a way to get you customers. My partner and I both came from the agency world, so we installed the same systems that worked for gym owners and e-com founders into a biz op of people that were trying to start a new business offer, and it worked extremely well because the maintenance level that we were so used to before was way below our customers' expectations, so we were always over delivering. And really, we had a 70+% contract completion, which is extremely high for coaching. 1/3 of our customers actually referred somebody to us, not successfully. 1/2 of those people gave us a testimonial in some form, and 1/5 of them successfully converted us a new customer. And you don't have to wait the entire service period to actually do this. This is why I say in 30 days. We were able to get most of these referrals oftentimes in our first 14 days of onboarding these people. So within that first 30-day period, customers we onboarded on maybe like the 4th or the 5th, or by the 20th or the 25th, getting us new customers on board and using social proof in our marketing assets. And we realized that instead of focusing on an arbitrary product, what mattered the absolute most was our customer experience. And if people woke up excited to work with us consistently, it was only a matter of time till they saw a crazy level of case study success. And therefore, the pillars of our service delivery prioritized were onboarding, which is the 20/80 of delivery, 20% that gets 80% of results; proactive comms, staying ahead of the problems your customers facing; and then feedback, which is staying ahead of their complaints that they have with something called the Mokery method. Now, phase one, which is onboarding, is whenever we buy a product to make an exchange of money, energy, or time in a meaningful way, we develop what is called an expectation, which is a belief or an assumption of what should happen as a result of the time I invested. And at each of these aspects in your business, the expectation of the customer changes drastically. When they're a prospect, just like watching your YouTube videos, they look at your offer and that shapes their expectation. They become a lead and they talk to people on your team. They now become a personal specification of whatever the team member told them, and then become a customer. The onboarding is the way their expectation is set. If you don't set that expectation properly on the onboarding, you're going to have a nightmare client on your hands, because it is completely inherent and normal during a sales process that the customer's expectation strays from the exact deliverables and the offers that you might have for them. And this is because in order to actually close them, the salesperson, to do their job, they have to make them relive the situation of their current pain and find solutions. And some of these are extremely personal and they'll never say them to the closer, even if they're a reason that they actually decided to move forward. So I'll give you an example. I'll keep everything anonymous, but this is something that actually happened to me. The CEO of a company purchased a coaching to teach their media buyer how to run better ads. And what they failed to mention is that they got really mad at the media buyer. They screamed at him, cursed him out, said all these things to him, even though they really liked him as a team member. And because they wanted them to stay, they hoped that this education and like kind of trying to get results back on track again would make this person happy with them. And situations like this exist with almost every customer that you already have, and really you might not see them. You have to pull them up in this onboarding process or else they're going to become massive problems for you. So in this situation, we had to deal with the problem later on because we didn't actually just candidly ask for any weird situations or expectations that they might have set in a transparent and candid fashion. Now, the reason why this is so important is because on the onboarding, when you ask these questions, you can completely reset their belief. So if their expectation for you is up here and out to the side a bit, and your baseline scope of work is down here, the onboarding's job is to pull it back in, reel it back in, and make yourselves agree on things. And if they believe anything's way too crazy, like there's no way I signed up for this right here, what you can do is you can kind of level and find the middle points where both you and the customer agree on the scope of work so that you know they're going to be happy throughout the entire period, get what they want, and then just walk away with both parties happy and what they paid for and what they're spending their time on. So the way we do this is when we walk them through an onboarding, it's not like a slideshow where we just make them sit still and like say yes, 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 yes over and over again to questions. We want them to give us kind of open-ended questions and collect the yeses through a more open format. So the way we do this is not by making them sit down, watch a presentation, and kind of just nod their head. We want to ask them verbal questions, break their attention. It should be a conversation back and forth with the goal of collecting as many yeses as possible about the actual scope of work. Does this make sense? Is this a reasonable timeline? Will this work for your current setup? And the more times you hear yes, the higher chance they are going to just be completely level when it comes to what they expect from you throughout this period. And their verbal agreement is the binding that you guys both agree on what's going to happen throughout this entire service period. The second part of this is proactive comms. If you're finding problems that your customer might be experiencing long before they even realize it, you can deal with them before the customer even notices, which means they'll never feel stuck or in a rut. Imagine yourself like a scout who goes and sees the lay of the land and reports back to the camp to try and decide which direction you guys are going to move in overall. And this was by far the biggest focus of advisors when we actually did training, because removing doubt from the customer's mind is one of the core ways to actually make someone become a case study and get results with you. If they can trust you enough to ruthlessly, and I mean ruthlessly, execute on everything that you say because they have no doubt because you're already cleaning that all up for them, you are on fast track to getting a program and a coaching and a case study that's going to just go ahead and get great results for both you and the customer. And our system for doing this only has two steps. First off is we meet with them every single Monday of the week and Tuesday if they're overbooked. The reason why is because with any life cycle of a human, somebody is going to be dealing with all the problems that they actually got for the week on Monday, maybe on a Thursday or a Wednesday. And the longer you wait to meet with a client, the more those problems are going to build up and kind of brew beneath the surface. And oftentimes you're going to be meeting with your clients on a Wednesday or a Thursday, solving a problem that really came up on Monday and could have been solved on the spot then. So if you start the week with them on the morning, just like I do every single week now, solving all the problems they have, setting objectives for the week, you don't have to do any more work for the week because a lot of the legwork and the heavy lifting is already done. You just need to answer questions and course correct as you guys go throughout the next period. The second thing is I send daily comms every single morning, no matter what. And the reason why I do this, still to this day, by the way, is because it wakes up the client in a friendly and familiar fashion, which allows them to just ask questions without any friction. Really, the reason why this is important is because a lot of the times client might have an invisible friction barrier to messaging you. Is he busy right now? Am I bothering him right now? Can I just Google this? This is especially true if it's warm traffic and this person respects you a lot already, which can be a good and bad thing at the same time. And I personally never wanted this to exist. So my solution for actually covering this is I would always message them first. So I'm the annoying one. I'm the guy there every morning. And because of that, if they have a problem or something they want to say to me, it is very naturally positioned every single morning and they don't have to fight that invisible barrier, which means that I can go through and just eat a lot of the pain for them of that invisible friction. And then as a result, when they deal with a problem, I'm right there with them immediately in the trenches and solving it with them. Now, the third and final aspect of this is the feedback. And if you do the first two aspects of what I covered consistently, your client satisfaction should already be extremely high. However, we are all humans and there's an infinite amount of variables and things that can just slip by us sometimes in life. This is extremely important because we want to create a place where our customer can vent out their problems and things they might not like about their service or life, well, whatever they're dealing with, in a way where we can approach it from a same side of the table instead of opposing approach where it would be if you let things brew below the surface. And At first, like most coaches, we were extremely scared to ask these brutally honest questions because we believed that if they weren't satisfied, it was a personal attack on our character and that we must be perfect in order to actually see success. And it is not the case because I'd say about 80% of the feedback that I've ever received is really just customers explaining miscommunications. If you're good at what you do, your service likely isn't missing any crucial parts to see success. And a lot of the time, maybe you didn't explain an asset properly that already exists, but they just didn't know where it was. Or you thought you said to them, do something, and they didn't actually go ahead and do it. And there's all these little miscommunications that if you can just publicly address, all right, human error, we're going to move on, we're going to move forward, keep moving fast. It will just cover all the feedback, get rid of all the customer problems that you are facing. And specifically, the only thing that I do for this is this Mokery feedback document, where it pretty much just is like a CEO training where you go ahead and you ask for it first and foremost, then you acknowledge it. So, yep, okay, that makes sense. Cool. Yes, you have to agree with them no matter what. You appreciate it, you accept it, and then you act on it in a simple format just like this. And I can link these documents in the comments. Just guys, let me know, and I can send everything through here. But that is our process of service delivery. And I know I've been talking a lot, and that is how we scaled to 100K a month after restarting within 30 days. Today, I'm going to give you a no BS guide on how to create viral thumbnails using ChatGPT's new 4.0 image generation using the three following formats. First off, we have personal photos on original ideas, PNG drops and sketches, and then third, downright stealing somebody's thumbnail and swapping your face onto it. The first strategy that we have is taking a personal photo and then prompting ChatGPT to create the thumbnail and the environment around it. My personal favorite, and credit goes to Arslan here, is of him with Steph Curry here in the Golden State Warriors arena, and you can see the source image below was just a simple photo of him doing a pose, and all he's done from that point on is he went into ChatGPT, said something along the lines of, hey, I want you to take this image, put me in the Golden State Warriors jersey in the arena with Stephen Curry using the same pose beside me. And then ChatGPT's 4.0 image generation created something like this. Right before I dive into the live demo, the way this strategy actually works is it uses heavy-based text prompting because you have to describe the scenario just because the photo you uploaded doesn't really have much context by itself. So what happens is you'll often have to do more revisions in order to actually make this work and go out properly. The big upside of this is that you get completely original ideas and thumbnails like the ones I just showed you, but the downside is that the image memory on ChatGPT is still improving, so if you have to make revisions when something's not perfect, it might mess up other elements. Okay, so what you can see here is the first prompt that I actually used. So I said, this is me, I want you to create a YouTube thumbnail 1280 by 720 of me dressed like a volcano explorer. Keep my expression the same, have a tropical forest background leading up to a volcano that has red magma, then have a blue sky in the background with a few clouds and birds around the volcano. From that point on, it generated me this, which I'd say is fairly accurate. In the Explorer, I have a little backpack that they added. Volcano has the red magma coming from it. It has the birds around it. It has that tropical forest, which gives a great contrast, the green, blue, and the brown here, with also the big red volcano makes it pop. And then, yeah, the clouds as included. So this is really good. The only issue is that it's animated. So what I did here is I went through a crazy long stint of trying to make it realistic. I got like half of one here and it kept giving me issues. So what I actually did is just kept trying, switching between the ChatGPT app and web, which is something that's going to happen because this is natural and first just coming out. By the time you see this, probably improved. And then I finally got it to work and it gave me this result here, which I can't say is absolutely amazing and realistic to me. I could probably play around with it to make it look with my face more, but given this is the first strategy and purely based off text, I think it did a pretty good job. That's strategy number one of the three complete. It is by far the least effective because when you are just using text prompt, there are way too many variables around the environment and what it's actually going to be. The easier alternative is strategy number two, which I'm about to dive into. The second strategy is the PNG drop / sketch. And pretty much what this is you are taking either the raw elements of a thumbnail or you are sketching them. And instead of letting the AI actually decide what the outside variables are going to be, you are actually saying, okay, this is what it's going to look like. And it's going to allow you to do the graphic design. This is the most powerful strategy that you have in your toolkit if you don't have the graphic design skills, but still have a pretty good eye for a thumbnail. The first example of doing this is this one right here. And I don't take any personal credit for these. These are all the guys on Twitter that I'm innovating alongside. You can see on this top thumbnail right here, the guy's taken a few elements. There is an ice mountain, which literally still has a watermark on it, a Russian flag coming out of it, and just an image of him. any good thumbnail usually has around 3 core elements. So if you follow this principle, the AI understands it really well. And all he's asked the AI is to pretty much blend himself in and make it one cohesive thumbnail. And you've gotten the one down below, which looks extremely good. Now, to show you a second example, this is one that is a lot more design based. So to show you what actually happens, it is a normal image of him, just like I showed you in the first example, except instead of saying, hey, design this as a 24-hour Shopify challenge, he is shown where he wants a 24-hour text. He shows that he wants a dark room in the background, the amount of money, and then the actual plus percentage, and then also the Shopify logo over here, and says follow the exact instructions in the image. And then it's given him a really banger thumbnail. I think this would perform extremely well in an education or business niche like I primarily do. Now, the next one is a perfect example of a sketch. So as you can see here, though this is not a person, which I'm going to show you how to do if you have a face to your brand in the next one, he has drawn a very simple image of a stick figure of him showing a pretty much golden play button and have some trees in the background with a green Lambo, mountains, and a blue sky. Just a pretty much high contrast kind of flexy guru style thumbnail. Said, hey, turn this sketch into a hyper realistic YouTube thumbnail in 1920 by 1080, process the millionaire and the right arrow text next to it going to him. And it created a really good example. Now, this is not a real human being, so if you actually do have a face to your brand, you're going to need to follow the strategy that this guy does here. Whereas you can see here, he's used drawn color coding and done it a little bit differently. He has an upload headshot so the actual AI can know what to do. And then from that point on has drawn what each image is actually going to look like and given little descriptors here. And then also just said, hey, follow the exact instructions that I've given you, and it produced this extremely high quality kind of before and after airplane video, which historically, if you know YouTube, Mr. Beast has uploaded one that is one of his most viewed videos on his channel. This guy right here has done it a little bit differently. For the more artistically inclined people, he has done a drawing of a castle and then also of himself and what he's going to look like with a VR headset. Now, when it actually converts, it looks extremely good, probably because the AI knows what he looks like. However, most of us probably can't draw like this, and doing a PNG draw just like I showed you on the first Alaskan one like this would probably achieve the same if not better results. And then the final example of this I have is a Squid Game prompt that I saw where a guy pretty much draws the basics of a Squid Game guard because the AI can identify what it is just by him explaining it and then saying, hey, I want a rich billionaire guy smoking a cigar next to him, and it created this thumbnail with the Squid Game people in the back, which I genuinely think would be an extremely high performing thumbnail. Now we're on the third strategy and the least ethical, which is straight up face swapping or stealing thumbnails. And this is going to be a game changer for niches that are especially changing the information and more education style, because with entertainment, there might be a little bit more novelty and nuance involved. However, when we're doing the same format again and again and again in a niche like marketing agencies, and we're just swapping out the person's face and maybe the number that we talk about, it is now a game of novelty, but you can pretty much swap out someone's thumbnail. To show you an example of this, I did a sleep optimization video where I took an image of this guy here and I said, can you take this guy and make me a photo of him sleeping? So it gave me this image and I was like, okay, well, that's pretty solid, but I want to turn it into a thumbnail. And this is as I was learning the prompts. So I took a winning thumbnail by, I believe his name's Brian Johnson, the health optimization guy. And I said, I want him to redo the image with text so I can use it for my thumbnail. Gave me this, and I realized the issue is that I didn't ask it for 1920 by 1080. So I asked it for that exact same format here, and it gave me this thumbnail, which is a complete replica of the one that I sent up here, which had 2.2 million views on YouTube. So this is going to be an extremely good, high-performing thumbnail. And pretty much from that point on, I just asked it to go ahead and remove the text so I could have the freedom to edit it a little bit more. And the final copy that I ended up making was like this. And it's a video that would honestly perform extremely well, and it's just been done completely from scratch using a raw PNG and then using that PNG to swap out into thumbnails. So if you make thumbnails for clients, this could be extremely beneficial for you. And then also just for people who don't have the time to do all the graphic design, maybe busy entrepreneurs themselves, you can actually just go ahead and find winning thumbnails and swap yourself in. If you're posting mass content, it's extremely effective. Here's an example of me doing this and actually avoiding one of the pitfalls here. So there was a video that I really wanted to make, and this was the thumbnail for it. I thought this was a really good thumbnail. It's talking about how much money this guy Iman made from a single YouTube video, and I wanted to make this thumbnail for myself, and initially when I asked and put in my number here, it made me this, which is a terrible thumbnail that wouldn't get any clicks because it absolutely butchered me, and I also didn't ask for it in thumbnail format. As you can see here, I kept fighting it, trying to make it give me something different by uploading more images, and it just wasn't improving. So what I actually decided to do, which is an absolute game changer, especially if you have face involved in your content, because it is going to butcher it sometimes, is I literally just removed the actual face from the entire process. I removed the face from the thumbnail, just had the numbers switched, and then I just grabbed my own PNG in Canva like this, put it over, then I subbed it in, and this video is performing extremely well on my channel right now. Here's another example of this. So this was a winning thumbnail in the email marketing niche, and this is one of my clients here. And what I pretty much did is I asked, just as a demo, to actually see what it would look like if there was a swap done. Initially, it was all right, okay, not too bad. Then I tried another face one, and it got a little bit better. However, this is not still amazing. The core feature and how I actually recommend using this is I just recommend removing the actual face element from the thumbnail and having it complete itself. And then from that point on, what you can actually do is just plug the image back in and then apply some shadow. And now you've properly actually taken the thumbnail and it's still going to be good. So those are the three main use cases when it comes to thumbnail generation using this new ChatGPT 4.0 image feature. And really the implications that this is going to have on YouTube, especially for education businesses, are massive. If you were a creator before that maybe relied on having thumbnail designers or maybe just not using thumbnails at all on your content, you have absolutely no excuse now and can put out top level content at a much more rapid scale while keeping the information in the video simple and getting high click-through rates. It's an absolute game changer for anyone that runs some form of online coaching, education business, because now you can attract a lot more viewers at a rapid rate. I am now running my own YouTube channel and all my clients' channel as a one-person AI-powered content team, and it's allowed my coaching business to scale to 160K a month with this strategy, in addition to all the other features that you can use on YouTube and AI when it comes to titles, ideation, scripting, and hooks. And really, if you don't have a banging YouTube channel and are putting out content at mass, you are behind because the new era is here and AI is taking over. Anyway, this content schedule makes my coaching business over $160,000 a month and over $1.1 million in total with only a few thousand subscribers. Over my last 2 years as a coach, I've tried almost every strategy with YouTube, Instagram, ads, and the combination of them. And quite frankly, most of it is fluff and gimmicks that are just low leverage and don't actually make sense. So after years of data collection for both myself and my clients, this is what the week of content looks like on a color-coded basis of best to worst. So as you can see here, the green days are going to be days that are good to post on. Yellow days are going to be a little bit iffy to post on. Red's not posting, and Sunday is also kind of that iffy, but also not great. And I want to break down the reason why all this exists because it comes from viewer analytic data, which I'll be showing you in a second. However, when it comes to the actual posting schedule, it's pretty simple. You're going to post on Monday, you're going to post on Wednesday, and you are going to post on Friday here. And you might be asking yourself, Alex, well, why would you post on a yellow day? As I dive into the viewer analytics, you will see that Friday is a day that is cut in half. You're able to post in the earlier section of Friday, so in the AM leading into the afternoon, it is still a green day to post on. It still has great viewer analytic data. And just showing you this busts so many myths that I see coaches fall victim to when it comes to the game of YouTube and content creation. Something that I get asked a lot is, hey, Alex, should I just post 5x weekly, or even should I post 7 times weekly and just try and do daily long form videos? And when you look at this and you really understand it, you'll understand that, hey, posting on these additional days here is not actually going to yield your audience, and it's going to actually destroy your give to ask ratio because your existing relationship with your viewers is going to be broken. Now, if you just copy the posting schedule alone, you will not see success with this. You have to understand that the posting schedule is merely an extension of your ICP's viewer behavior data. And just as a caveat to that, if you actually do have the correct input for a long enough time horizon, you're guaranteed results. And I also tell my clients this all the time. Good videos will always end up performing. It might just take a while. I have plenty of videos on my own channel that when I first uploaded maybe had less than 100 views, but as time goes on and I begin to thresh out myself in my space, they'll get more and more and more views, and then as a result perform as they probably were meant to when they first got uploaded, just because YouTube now knows my audience. Now, as we dive into a little bit more on the viewer analytics end, I want to cover the scheduling versus direct upload debate, and I'll let you know that it is a complete myth. Now, it is not a myth that there are objectively better times to post than others, and that's especially true when you're trying to attract qualified buyers. Therefore, scheduling is going to be the best tool in your asset because you're a business owner and you don't have time to stop what you're doing and post videos. It's just another distraction on your plate. And if you can schedule it one time and forget about it, it is going to be a system that actually runs. Now, to add, your posting schedule is pretty much the springboard for your entire channel. The reason why is because you have the highest percent chance of catching your ICP demographic when you post during a populated time. As you can see here for myself and my clients, that is usually going to range between 9 a.m. and 12 p.m. Eastern time because it catches the European time zone when it's around 6 p.m. their time. It also catches Pacific time, which is 3 hours earlier. And it's just really when most of America, which is the biggest audience for buying coaching programs, are awake online and on their computer. And this is in a vidIQ extension. If I were to actually look at my viewer analytics on YouTube, you can see it is unanimous across the board that between this window of around 12 to 3-ish, and actually going back to 9 a.m. to 3-ish, the most viewers are online just by the representation of like how dark or how bright this purple color is. Now, given the reason why that is so important is because if you, for example, were to post a video at midnight, what would happen is it would likely be shown to people in another time zone. At midnight Eastern time, that is going to be 6 a.m. for EU, which is probably not when they're watching YouTube videos. And for LA, it's going to be super late at night, so they're not going to be awake. And what that means is it's probably going to attract buyers in Asia. So you're going to get Middle Eastern countries. And quite frankly, unless you're trying to get people from Dubai, these countries are known to bring in tire kicker leads that aren't going to buy your product. Therefore, when you post a video and they are the main people that watch it at that given time, it's going to compound and show it to more people with that same viewer profile in the same location. And then as a result, your video might get a lot of views, but it's not actually going to get you any buyers. And that's why it's so important to post when your ICP is actually online. Now, the first biggest mistake when it comes to posting is artificially pushing your videos. I specifically at my agency work with coaches who are usually just getting their channel off the ground, meaning that they probably don't have initial traction. And what always happens with videos is we're going to upload the first few videos and the graphs will look something along the lines of a completely flat chart with maybe a little bit of an uptrend and a little bit of views here. Between this, I guess, mark to just having absolutely zero, they might have around 30 views around this mark. And what will happen is videos will typically flatline, sit at this point for a few days. And then what will happen is randomly one night, YouTube will find the viewer profile and the video will spring up like this and jump to whether it's 500 views, whether it's 1,000 views. The highest I've had it go to on a completely fresh channel is around 5,000 views overnight. And the reason why this happens is because YouTube is looking to actually go ahead and serve it to the right audience. If you have a video that's not getting new impressions, but the metrics are dialed in, it means YouTube is slowly trying to find out who this video is actually for. And all you have to do is be patient, and with time, the video will begin to perform, so long as the metrics, the click-through rate, and the watch time are in check. Now, what typically happens with the clients that have not produced content before, it's even almost a part of my onboarding at this point, is I get the question, well, hey, Alex, should I post this to my Instagram story? Should I share it with my community? And my answer to them is almost always the same, which is just no. And there's one caveat to that I'm going to explain in this video. But the reason why you cannot push it out to your Instagram or any of your broad socials is because you don't know if it's purely your ICP watching. So when a video is around this 30 view mark and it doesn't really have any traction, it is extremely fragile. So let's say you throw it on your Instagram story, you don't listen to this advice, and what goes ahead and happens is one of your buddies from high school goes ahead and watches this video. This guy on YouTube, the other videos on his recommended are NFL videos, he's got sports videos, maybe he has gaming videos, and what this signals to YouTube is, oh, this person that likes this content is now going to watch this video. So then YouTube goes, oh, okay, this must be the person that likes this video. And then as a result, it's going to show it to them. And it's a negative compounding cycle that almost just like spins all the way down. Now, this is so dangerous because your friends and family are typically going to watch the entire video. And then as a result, it signals to YouTube that the person that likes this stuff also likes this video, and then it shows it to more people like that, and the video flops, the click-through rate dies, and then you might jump up to around 60 views-ish, like up here, but then the video is absolutely flatline dead and will never have this exponential performance here, and it's just because you cashed in the chips too early and you got impatient. Now, the only caveat to that I've actually seen work is when you have owned attention. So for example, if you had an email list of specific ICP people that you've either got from ads or just previous content in the past, and you know these people are the specific kind of person you're trying to attract with your content exclusively, and you share it to them, it will have a positive compounding effect. However, once again, you have to be extremely careful because it is a high risk and low reward kind of thing. If you were to just wait and play it the way that YouTube's algorithm works, just play the game of YouTube algorithm, there's a much higher chance of you having the video perform and actually show it to the right people, so you don't have this artificially plumped up channel that only relies on your other socials. Now, the second biggest mistake I see is just straight up inconsistency. A lot of coaches need to understand that when they're posting content, it is a relationship one-to-one with many, many people. However, that relationship one-to-one has an expectation set at whatever quality you're posting at and also whatever cadence you're posting at. So what that means is that when a viewer watches your video and they're an avid loyal follower, they expect a certain amount of videos a week, and they also expect a certain quality around that. And you begin to create a lot of mistrust and break a lot of the authority that you have in a relationship whenever you are inconsistent. And a lot of times, skilled entrepreneurs aren't actually inconsistent with the content frequency. What they're inconsistent with, once again, is the quality. One video might be a Miro board, one video might be a lifestyle video, and then as a result, your viewer doesn't know why they watch you anymore, and then we'll just go ahead and unsubscribe. Now, the next things are overestimating the complexity of the system. I will just quite frankly share, the better that I get at YouTube, the more simple my process comes for creating, because I just have the skills embedded into myself as a person. And then also creating each video by itself, not batching, and having no buffer of videos. Now, to solve this and to share some quick wins that you can actually do, the first thing is adding chapters to your video to attract buyers. People that buy from your content like to be informed as to what each section is about, as you can probably see on this video below. And if you can add these chapters, it's going to allow them to jump through the video to actually get the value that they'd like. And in all the data we've gone through, it almost always has a positive effect on the viewer retention. The second thing is publicly sharing your posting schedule with viewers in order to set the expectation and the relationship. And then what that's going to do is, for previous viewers on your channel, it's going to allow them to understand that there's a change going on. And for new people to your channel, it's going to allow them to really understand what the purpose is. On this channel, I talk about how coaches can get $100,000 a month using YouTube. And because of that, anybody who doesn't fall under that demographic, that doesn't apply to, isn't really going to care about these videos, which means that I'm not going to get as many views, but I'm going to get much more qualified views. The next thing is you always have the ability to re-upload videos. This is something that I tested while I was actually on vacation and was not able to post new videos. I just tried re-uploading old videos with new packaging, and funny enough, it actually did really well, and I got some videos that before might have not done so well to actually perform on the algorithm and get a bunch of views. And the second thing is also creating ultimate guides. So if you have a backlog of videos on your channel that are all around a given topic, you'll always have the ability to, if you don't have a video to post or you just don't feel like making content, to combine all those videos into one ultimate guide, slap on a 30-second intro, and then just have it be an extremely long ultimate master guide tutorial that once again you stamp up with chapters and is now going to be a great asset when it comes to converting customers that you can position as a course. And today what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a random channel and show you exactly how I build it to $1 million again. So now I have created the initial document that has everything that we're going to need in order to create a simple and lean business. What I mean by that is there's only going to be 1 to 3 tasks we just have to repeat for a 3 to 6 month period to scale to our $1 million a year run rate, which is $78,000 a month. Those things are going to be the niche that we're actually targeting, the demographic of person within that niche. So if we're targeting fitness people, what kind of fitness people, men, women, then we have customer pain points, so things they're currently having issues with, the value proposition that we actually have to them. So how are we actually going to be giving them value, the videos that we're actually going to create, the offer that we're going to have included within those videos that's going to go to the funnel that we have to convert customers, and then finally the service delivery we are actually going to do for them. And the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to browse the internet a little bit and pick a pretty random and obscure niche to actually build this in. So I spent the last 10 to 15 minutes clicking through some random niches, and the first thing that I wanted to do was software engineers. However, I realized that that career is kind of on a downtrend. So what I actually found instead was how to become an AI engineer. And I saw this channel here which is getting extremely good views for anything that is in a career-based niche. This automatically proves that this is something I can start my channel in, and therefore I'm going to run with it. So we're going to write AI developer as my niche right here. The next thing I've done is I've jumped over to ChatGPT, and I'm going to actually go through and just have it brainstorm for me all the general pain points and demographics for somebody in this niche, so I can begin filling out more and more of this document, and I'll keep you updated. So I just filled out my demographic and I found some pretty interesting stuff. The first thing is that 34% of the market is 25 to 34, while 29% of the market is 18 to 24. So the first thing that I'm going to make as a decision is I'm 18 myself. So if I want to resonate with the people in this given niche, what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the 25 to 34 target audience because they don't relate to me and they aren't going to look at me as an authority figure. So I'm going to be targeting that younger demographic, even though it's a little bit smaller, because the amount of resonation and trust that I'm going to gain relative to that 6% difference isn't going to make a difference at all. Now, the next thing is 50% or more hold a degree in computing. This is an interesting angle. Something that I might be able to approach with this is that the school that I quote unquote run is an alternative way to land a job without actually getting a degree. So I target more of the demographic that might not have that well-treaded path and might feel a little bit lost in life. The next thing here is 29% North America. So I think all my content would be based towards either Americans or Canadians like myself. Interests and hobbies. So this started pretty shallow. It was like hackathons, tech conferences, but that's not actually going to convince anyone to actually get an understanding of what they do and who they are. So the next thing that I found, which is pretty interesting, is some of the video games they might play. And I'm not sure if you knew this, but I myself am a pretty big gamer. I actually play professional video games. So I know all of these. I've probably played them quite a bit as well. And I got a little bit more granular into also the media they consume. So they watch people like Lex Friedman. They might listen to experimental music. They watch YouTubers like Veritasium or Vsauce. They're very science and data based. If they're going to actually do fitness, they watch guys like Andrew Huberman or Jeff Nippard, who are known for just having a very scientific based approach to actually executing everything that they're talking about. In addition to that, finances, Graham Stephan is like the number one of that in that given niche. And how they think has been pretty much summed up to proof-based. So they require proof of something and a logical next step in order to act. And that can be further be proved by some of the videos that they might watch of, I tried this challenge for 30 days, here's what happened, and all those videos that I think we've all watched by dudes like Ali Abdaal and Better Ideas. So now I've got a pretty good idea of the demographic. I'm going to fill in the customer pain points and create my value proposition. So now I filled out the pain points. You can see how this turns into an actual business. They're good at what they do in their actual skill and field, but they don't know how to actually get a job. They didn't go to a top school. They don't have a certification like FANG or some of the other things I've learned about. They don't have much work experience and they haven't built any crazy projects. They keep learning and educating themselves to quote unquote get better, but another course certification on their LinkedIn isn't actually going to help them get that job. They don't know how to present themselves and they keep writing cover letters and trying new resumes, but every single time they just get blocked on the recruiter screening when they actually apply and might get accepted to that first round. And they keep trying to learn more when at the end of the day, they really know that the problem is they legitimately just do not have a system for going ahead and actually speaking to possible positions and just doing interviews. And as a result, they start to think that their market is saturated, nobody's hiring juniors. But at the end of the day, they know what is true. And it comes down to the big value proposition that we're going to be basing this entire thing around, which is also probably going to be our offer, which is helping AI developers land a full-time remote position that can make them six figures in 30 days. And then we just add guaranteed, and that would be our offer. So I just grabbed Alex Hormozi's $100 million offer value framework here, and I want to see if it checks all the boxes. First thing we have is dream outcomes. So make six figures. Boom, perceived likelihood of achievement. So full-time remote position. And if we were to put guaranteed in as part of our offer, that would actually increase the actual perceived likelihood of achievement, just showing results as well. Time delay, 30 days, checked off. Effort and sacrifice. So one of the things that we can actually add here, because it's missing, full-time remote position using our application automation system, and that's just like a mock name. We'll probably have to clean that up as we continue on. But what that's going to do is it's going to decrease the effort and sacrifice, because we're pretty much saying to these people, hey, you don't need to spend any more time like refining your skills. You've got everything you need to actually land this remote job and get that 6-figure and 30-day income. And that is now overall the dream outcome that they want to achieve. And pretty much they just need to apply the application automation system, or whatever we actually decide to call it. And then that guaranteed, once again, crosses off that perceived likelihood of achievement, in addition to all the case studies we have. So we've taken this random obscure niche, and now we've actually broke it down to a core offer and value proposition that we can now go ahead and create videos around. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draft a bunch of ideas and titles. I'm going to throw some thumbnails together and then show you what all the videos look like, in addition to also diving into the offer that we're going to be using around it. Okay, so I've just filled out a whole bunch of YouTube videos and actually decided the thumbnail I'm going to be using alongside them. So the first video that I actually have here is AI jobs don't care about your resume, they want this. And the way this video would be positioned is it would be a similar thumbnail to the one that I have here of Linus Tech Tips, except the USB would be blurred and it would just be in a default office background. The USB kind of acts as like an object that somebody's holding that represents the mystery within the video that would be shared. Next thing is how I would land a job in a week if I started from scratch. How an AI job in a week if I started from scratch. What I think is really strong about this thumbnail is the $73 an hour, then also the big companies. The design could be massively touched up on these, as for a lot of them that I'm going to show you here. However, all the principles are very good here, and this job would do extremely good, especially coming from an authority frame. Next thing, which is one that you might have to do a little bit of networking, or if you have connection in the industry do, is AI recruiter reveals what he or she actually looks for. And these two videos from Google X Recruiters did extremely well. And I honestly think this could be repeated in the AI job space, and it would absolutely crush just because of the frame that's given if you worked for a large company, or if you haven't, AI recruiter reveals what he, she actually looks for. Now, that was going to do well. Next thing is going to be why you won't get hired in AI even with a perfect resume. So I have a actual title and thumbnail that I did, which is just remove the gurus are lying text and change it to recruiters are lying, and then a resume being burnt where the kind of flames are on the bottom here. Next one is copy the exact resume that got my first AI job. So this is going to be two videos that did extremely well. I believe both of these almost have 1 million views. And you're going to show the frame or the name of the big company that you got, and then also the resume that you have just kind of like pulled up here, as these two guys have done. And it's a very simple thumbnail that is extremely effective. Next one, which is the second to last, is I applied to 500 AI jobs. Here's what they care about. This video did extremely well because it comes from a place of experience and like, oh, I've done this. Okay, let me show you how it works. And then finally, what to say in your interview for AI jobs. Now, this one is going to be a little bit of a role play mock session one. So what I would do is I'd almost have like a fake Zoom call screen and just put a little quote text below. Now, when it comes to the actual funnel, what I would do in the description of each of these videos, I would have a straight calendar. And because my unique mechanism that I'm going to be sharing with all these people is going to be around the frame of actually getting out there and speaking and quote unquote leveling yourself up like a character in a video game, the first step towards them actually doing that is putting themselves outside of their comfort zone and scheduling a strategy session. And it's the way that they're going to get more and more information about how they can actually land a job. And it's also going to be almost like a mock interview, learning how to present themselves better so they can actually get a position. Then when they actually move forward, it would be moving into what I call a done with you service that it actually monetize at an initial price point of probably around $1,000, scaling up all the way to a package where you can charge around $4,500 to $5,000 for a 3-month period, where pretty much you do a complete makeover of their branding, organize their portfolio, and then the unique frame that we have is treating applications like outreach in a traditional business, where they're sending 50 a day like clockwork, they're tracking it, and they're also kind of burning that fear of rejection by saying, all right, if I send 1,000, I don't get anything, I can quit. But until then, I'm going to commit to sending 1,000 so I can land this 6-figure job in 30 days. And then again, they're going to have conversion rates and a tracker just like outbound, and review sales calls, or sorry, review their interviews like sales calls, and do role plays to actually get better at what they're going to say on the call. And this is an extremely simple, lean business model that you could scale to $1 million a year, $78,000 a month run rate. And here are all the videos that I create. And the first phase to doing this is called relative virality and conversion data. So the biggest mistake that we can make with content in general is setting the wrong goals, and even worse, measuring them with the wrong data. And if views are impacting you mentally, you are already losing in this battle. The only lead that should be a source of truth is the views to page view or views to lead ratio, which means that per 100 people, 1 to 2 of them should actually be becoming leads in your funnel. And we also need to determine what is viral in your niche. Because we want conversions, everything is going to be relative. 200 views per video in your niche could mean that you're already the top dog and a celebrity. We started as SMMA for teenagers, so we were extremely niche down. And the way that you can check for this is by going to Google Trends just like this. And once you're in Google Trends, you want to compare different terms. So as you can see here, I'm comparing the term marketing agency to the term fitness, and it barely even shows marketing agency on this graph because relative to the amount of traffic that a term like fitness gets, it has absolutely no impact. So what that means is that if you're someone in the marketing agency niche and you might compare yourself against a fitness channel or any niche that has a similar kind of traffic, you are optimizing for the wrong thing, and as a result are losing a lot of money in your business. And the way I explain this is called the virality bridge. In our given niche, we had SMMA, which was crowned by Iman, who was going ahead and convincing anybody, whether they be a young guy, to actually go ahead and move forward on this business model. And if you're a smaller creator and don't have a massive brand already, if you're doing this, it's not going to work for you. What we instead did is we waited for people to cross the bridge of being like, okay, this SMMA thing works, this is what I want to do, all the way to us. And what we did was we made SMMA videos for teenagers, meaning that the people that actually decided to watch them from us had already been convinced on the model. And as a result, we had search intent and they already had pain points that we just had to address. So now we're on to phase 2, which is the team and the process. So the most important thing is that you've got yourself and you have AI. And with those two things alone, you can completely run this content system within 10 hours a week, which I'll show you in a second. But when it comes to actually making a video, we have the ideation, packaging, recording, and uploading. And as I've written here, 80% of the work you're going to do is in the ideation and the packaging phase before you even touch the asset you're going to be making for the video or record any kind of content. And the way we house this entire thing is completely in Notion, where we have 2 different boards. We have a production board, which is just a spreadsheet timetable of a video title, a pop-up with all the information and the date that it's going to be uploaded and the date that it's going to be rehashed. And we have the education board, where we do reviews on videos, and then we also go ahead and just pull in other kind of YouTube information from the competitors that we actually have. And really, that is everything that you need when it comes to the overall structure. It shouldn't be complicated. Whatever is actually a workflow that you would realistically do. So if you don't use Notion, don't use Notion. Going into the output and the time requirements, you want to do 3x weekly uploads. This is very important. The reason why is because when you're a smaller creator and because of that relative virality, you're going to want to put out more videos. When someone who is optimizing for a high click-through rate and high watch time and all these things puts out 1 video per week, it's okay because they're going to get a 10% click-through rate and a watch time that's pretty high. So YouTube's going to keep funneling their video again and again and again, and it has the potential to get more views in 1 video than maybe 3 or 4 videos would have had. However, because we're making this lower and a more niche down kind of topic video, we want to upload as frequently as possible because the videos aren't going to get as many views, but we want to address all the broad concerns and the questions of the niche and almost build up our digital real estate portfolio by optimizing purely for search traffic. In addition to that, we're going to do a 3x weekly rehash. So if you were to go on to any channel or any YouTube video that you have right now and check the impressions that has been given, even 6 months after posting, every single YouTube video on the platform still gets impressions, which means people are seeing it. And what happens is if you have a winning packaging, even if a video is 6 months old and YouTube recognizes that because the few impressions that you get are clicking through, you can have the video completely revived. So what that means is that your entire YouTube portfolio is still an alive, breathing asset that if you can learn how to rehash in a simple way is going to be able to bring you consistent views from search traffic. And as I mentioned, it took us 10 hours a week per channel to implement at first. And however, as your skill improved, you can get down to as little as 5 to 8 hours. I believe the clients that I personally work with spend about 2 to 4 hours per week on their content in general. So it can be executed pretty easily. Now, moving into what you've been waiting for, which is the flow and the software. The first thing that you need to understand is that YouTube is a volume game. And because of that, when we're coming up with ideas, titles, thumbnails, At first, for the ideas, we're going to have a 1 to 25 ratio, meaning that we have to come up with 25 winning ideas, and of those, we're only going to pick one, which is the ultimate winner that we're actually going to make a video on. And we have three ways of actually stemming up from these ideas. The first thing is just going to be general YouTube videos from your brain and your experiences. So if you're an authority, you are likely speaking to a version younger of yourself that had these problems. And as a result, if you think to yourself, what are the problems that I had along my journey? You can come up with a whole bunch of ideas just from your brain. The next thing is you can scan existing channels for winners. So if you see a competitor or you see a video that you think you could recreate in your niche that would do really well, or just from another niche that you think you could recreate into your niche, that is going to be another example of just how you can put down ideas. That just comes from being on YouTube if you watch it as a consumer. And then the final way, which is the predictable way, is using vidIQ, which I'm going to demonstrate here for you. As I get started here, I would like to let you know that I'm not partnered and you won't find any affiliate links anywhere. I use these softwares because they're legitimately good. And on vidIQ, here's an example of me doing this. So you have the keyword section, and for example, I'm going to type in the keyword marketing agency like we had before. So taking a look at this keyword, we can see that it has a relatively high search volume and a relatively low competition. If you're going to use the software, understand that these metrics are not just facts and data. If everybody looks at these and sees that a keyword is low or competition is low, everybody's going to make videos about the things with the highest score, and then as a result, everybody is going to make the competition really high, and it's not going to work. So you have to do external research as well. However, once I'm in and I find a keyword that I think is good, I'm going to go to mainly the matching terms section here. I'm going to review things that I see, and I'm also going to go to the question section because I want to repeat this and get this very clear. Every single good video idea is a question. The video title is designed to be an answer to that question in a way that makes the viewer intrigued. And really, when you're watching this video right now, the question that I came up with for this video was, what is a good content system? Or how can I post on a micro channel without getting views? And then as a result, my title was positioned as an answer to that because I realized that that's something that a lot of people care about and have pain wanting to know. So this question section is extremely important for finding this. And what I will do is I will scan just like this until I find keywords that I think would be really, really good. And it might take you a while. You might have to go through a lot of keywords. You might have to try other things, but I can find a keyword like this, which I think might be pretty good. How to start a 7-figure marketing agency. But let's say you might not have the qualifications to talk about how to start a 7-figure marketing agency. You might not be the utmost expert. Let's go to a term like email marketing agency and do it again live. So going immediately over to the questions phase, one of the things that I see here is how to start an email marketing that works, how to start an email marketing and 10K a month marketing agency in 30 days here. I like this keyword a lot. How to build a 10K a month email marketing agency in 30 days. If I'm going to take this, I'm going to copy paste it into YouTube, and we're going to see what kind of competition we have. So here are the results that we got. And to show you what I'm actually going to do with those results, I'm going to do what I call SEO graph scanning. And the questions that I ask myself and also AI, just send screenshots of the videos in, just like this. I'm going to ask, do the top videos on the search term include the keyword directly? How recently were the top videos posted? And can I just make better packaging than the top videos? So taking a look here, the first thing that I notice is that there's a video by Sabri Subi that has a really good thumbnail. This video got a lot of views, got 200,000 views. The issue is that it doesn't include this keyword at all, which means that it is not really relevant, and someone searching this exact keyword is something I can rank for. The second thing is that if I look at this top one by Boyuan Zhao, or even this one by Otto Frederick, this one doesn't have a thumbnail, so I know this is something I can beat. And this top one was posted 4 years ago. So immediately I recognize that this is a really good keyword to make a video about. It matches all the criteria. This video doesn't include the keyword. This video is from a long time ago, and this video doesn't have a thumbnail. So we've hit all the criteria. The first video was from 4 years ago, which immediately disqualifies it. YouTube's going to push new videos as a priority. The second video doesn't even include the keyword, and it's a far more broad video. And the third one doesn't have a thumbnail, which means that we're going to be able to actually best it in a click-through rate if we just put the effort in to finding something that's going to work. So now we just found a winning keyword and a winning idea that we could use. And if you repeat this 25 times, that idea is going to be so good that it almost guarantees video performance. And the next thing that I do is I prompt AI to determine if it's good for my channel. So for my channel and then also all the clients' channels that I work on, what we actually do is we take every single video that's been uploaded onto that channel. We're going to summarize it. We're going to take screenshots of the graphs of the retention, then also the click-through rate, the thumbnail, the packaging ideas, everything regarding it, and feed it all to a particular AI bot. And what that's going to do is it's going to give your ChatGPT 4.0, the $20 a month one, a extremely good context as to what you actually do, and because of that, it's going to be able to actually advise you on how to run your channel. So questions that I ask it are, Is this keyword already a winning concept or a close variation of one on my channel? Have I already made this video before? And that's a good thing because I can repeat it and it's also going to get results. Next question would be, can I make this completely unique to my experience that a competitor couldn't copy? Is this a timeless asset? Does this enforce my authority frame and build my reputation? Does a viewer feel FOMO if they skip over a video on this topic? And when your AI has context on this, which you can do just by spending the time just sending everything, it's not a complex thing, it just takes a lot of time. You can go ahead and now have an assistant that's smarter than almost every YouTube strategist you could ever pay. And that goes to the second phase, which is actually going to be the titles. As I mentioned, the goal of our title is to answer the question that we have in our idea. And to do this, we're going to need a 1 to 50 ratio. So when I'm making a video, I end up going through hundreds of titles to pick the one that I actually decide on. And the ways that I do this are, first and foremost, I'm going to input all the competitor titles that I actually see. So I just go on like the top ranking, copy paste those all into ChatGPT. And I'm going to ask it to send me hundreds of different variations to actually go through. And I also use another software called Creator Hooks Pro, which is just kind of like a ChatGPT reskin specifically for YouTube to do the exact same thing. And from that point on, what I'll do is I'll take my favorite 50, do some personal copywriting on them, and then what I'll go through and do is take a 5 to 10 minute break, relax, get away from the computer, take my mind off of it, come back and remove 45 of them. I'm not sitting here and picking my 5 favorite. I'm going down the list sequentially of the 50 thumbnails of the hundreds that I've now drafted, and I'm removing, okay, bad, 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 until there are only 5 left. And once you've done that, you have now got 5 winning possible titles that you can use. And just as some information as to the kind of titles that you actually have existing on YouTube in general, first off is the contrarian and the controversial statement. So you've been lied to about paid ads. Stop spending money on ads. This works better. You have, I mean, honestly, this isn't really too effective for just optimizing for search traffic and doing well. Second thing is a big promise ultimate guide. This is like your holy grail if you are an authority content creator looking for conversions. Some examples of this are big goal, short time frame, step by step, how to achieve common desirable outcome without pain. Next thing is shocking personal story / case study. So case studies are the highest converting videos that you can ever possibly post on your YouTube. They might not get as many views, but we've installed softwares like Hyros into our channels, and we've realized that honestly, just from data, the case study videos that we've posted usually convert about 3 times better than usual ones. Then we have fear and scarcity driven titles. The only time that I recommend you make a title like this is when you have a winning idea. Let's say you're talking about school, for example, and it's doing really well. Every video you make about school is doing well, it's getting you leads, etc., and you're kind of running out of ideas. What you can do is you can inverse the frame you have into a negative aspect in order to get views. So the hidden truth about school, and what it happens is it's driven from a negative point, it's driven from a fear point that makes somebody click. However, you can reframe it into covering the same information that's going to make someone convert, just using a different format. Then we have listicle / cheat code format. This is really good if you might not be the highest level authority on a particular topic, but you still want to talk about it. You can say the top 5 ways to X, the top 5 ways to Y, and if you want to talk about minor concepts, right? Not like very big overarching things like a content system, but maybe you want to talk about the 7 thumbnail secrets. That could be an example of a video that I might even make. Then you have curiosity driven hooks. So this is something that honestly you might want to avoid unless you have a really good reason and a really good keyword that you're still making. And the reason why is because they're very experience driven, which means that they're not going to rank on keywords, which means that you want to do them very sparingly because they're meant to be more personal style videos. Enemy calling out a group. Only do this with particular vehicles. Do not do this with people. It's not good for your brand and reputation. And then trend jacking / current event title. So what this is if you see something that is relevant to your industry happening and a lot of people are talking about it, you can make a video to position yourself as the authority in that given thing. For me, that was school. I made a good amount of videos around school. I could also make videos around WAP, but you need to make sure that the actual concept you're talking about is extremely relevant to what the overall theme of your channel is, or else what you're going to do is you're going to filter in a whole bunch of people that don't care. What you want to do with these trend jacking and current events, because they do work, is bring in the attention of where the people in your audience and what they're already watching. So those are all the kind of titles that you can use. Use those as you will. I like to input all these into the GPT as I actually ask for hundreds of title formats to pick my winning ones. The next thing that I do is the thumbnail. Now, can't design a crazy amount of thumbnails. I am definitely a worse graphic designer than the majority of the people watching this video right now. And the way that I come up with thumbnails is I first off go through the inspiration phase. So just like the titles, I take down the top competitors. I just write down their thumbnails. I take screenshots of it and I'll put them into the document that I'm using. I take 3 to 5 niche equivalent thumbnails down. So this is view stats, and it's the way that I actually review and kind of just look for thumbnail inspiration. So what I did here is I copy pasted one of the top thumbnails under that given keyword we were searching for. And what it's going to do is it's going to show me every single thumbnail that is visually similar to it. And you can see here that a lot of these videos got a lot more views than the given one we're trying to go after. This is a 5x multiplier on the current channel. This one might not be as good, it only has a 1.7x, but it has a really big creator. This one here is a 24.5x. So we can see what winning versions of that thumbnail are. And what I like to do is just literally go ahead and click through these. Just click through these until I can find more and more thumbnail inspiration, which leads me into the next phase, which is doing 2 to 3 unique ones just completely off the top of my head. Unicorn ideas, because sometimes you might have thumbnails that only you can do that are specific to this new idea, and you just don't want to always just straight up copy people. Now, what I do from that point on, as dumb as it may sound, you should try it. You should grab a piece of paper and just roughly draw each of them. I draw a simple box just like this here, and I draw a face inside of it, and I just draw kind of the stuff around it like I'm going to show you here in a second, and it ends up being like this. This is as simple as the drawings are, and I do that with every single thumbnail format that I want to try. So whether it's a laptop, whether it's a phone, whatever it might be, and I just focus on the rough elements that are actually included in that given thumbnail. And what that's going to do is it's going to move me into the next phase here, which is called internal filtering. So what I've done now is I have 10 thumbnails that I'm not really sure if they're just kind of drawings on pieces of paper, and I have 5 titles that I know are really good. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pair up one of the titles to one of the thumbnail ideas, and the same thumbnail can only win twice. So what that means is I'm going to have 4 to 5 winning thumbnails, each of which has a title that's actually alongside of it that I can now go and use AI, ChatGPT 4.0, to make complete AI designed thumbnails for me. And the 3 ways of doing that are a PNG drop, which I'll throw up on screen right now. You pretty much just put all the rough elements of it just like a PNG. Second thing is you do a more in-depth sketch, and you just put a headshot of your face so the AI doesn't mess it up and kind of make you look like a random person. And then the third step is just straight up theft. So if you find a thumbnail that you really like and you know is going to do well, you can just straight up steal it from somebody and just have your face swapped onto it, or just remove their body from it in the first place and then put your body into the exact same thumbnail setting and change the numbers around. Now, take your design thumbnails and pick the winning 2 of those 5 that you've now paired, or 4 to 5 that you've paired alongside of it. And then what you're going to do with those 2 is you're going to take those 2 thumbnails and you're going to actually go ahead and improve the designs on them. Once again, I use Canva. I keep it extremely simple. When you're making these more business style videos, what's more important than the camera quality is you can just use an iPhone and do headshots of yourself with okay lighting. The most important thing is the overall message that you're communicating. Most importantly, with the asset that you have on screen, whether it's a breakdown or something, or whether you're doing fitness content and you're like super in shape, or, and in addition to that, also just the numbers that you're showing and kind of the overall theme of the tangible data you're getting across to people. And that is as simple as I keep it for the thumbnails. I then move into the asset creation phase. So what I do for this is I prompt ChatGPT to come up with the most effective format for this video based on the pains that are associated with the question they're asking. So do not skip this phase, because oftentimes what you're going to find out is that the pains that it manages to find are very different from the frame that you were actually initially planning to tell the story in. I'll give you an example of this. I wanted to make a video on my story and how I managed to see success with my YouTube channel. And when I would tell the story, it would be a relatively positive thing, because this entire time I was excited and I kept a positive mindset. However, what I realized is that this might not be the most effective way to tell the story. Even though I tried to keep a positive mindset, if I just act like I was happy-go-lucky the entire time, nobody's really going to care, because they're going to imagine it was a walk in the park. Maybe I got lucky, maybe I got all these things. So I learned that I had to tell the story in a little bit more of a hero's journey format, where I started out as the victim. And then as a result of that, the video retention performed much, much better. So it's going to give you that form of kind of frame that you want to have around the video. And what it's also going to do is it's going to give you the asset that's most appropriate. Maybe a slideshow isn't right for this video. Maybe it should just be a straight up talking head one where you sit down outside on your porch, or maybe you just sit down in your chair late night. And it's going to give you kind of the setting that's going to be the best. Then from that point on, all you need to do is insert unique skills and expertise accordingly. One thing I recommend, and I had it included in the questions about whether the video is a good fit for your channel, Make it completely unique to you and what only you can talk about. And the only thing that you can talk about that's completely unique to you is your life experiences and stories. There's lots of people that are going to talk about the same concepts, all these things. You have to share how it applies to you. And the only other thing is make sure to include a strong call to action, a subtle one within the first 2 minutes of the video, and then near the end of the video, a hard one. Now, going up to the next phase, which is recording. You want to be yourself throughout this entire phase. And the only way to do this that I found, which I'm still improving myself while my delivery is amazing, is better than any speaking coach, book, or anything like that I bought, which is just reading out loud. You get to learn and consume stories, and that's going to improve your storytelling ability, but you also get to improve your articulation because you're learning how to actually speak in certain ways, in certain voices that people have a lot more experience than you are actually speaking in. And because it's a book, it's going to be idealistic, meaning that the way a book reads is going to be way better than anybody actually speaks. So you're going to rapidly up your skills a lot quicker than anybody else. And then finally, it goes to the editing phase. So this is where a lot of people get freaked out. They either think they need like crazy edits with animations popping on the screen, or they just have straight up never used the software before, so it's a little bit intimidating. And I was the exact same way. What I'd recommend doing is you want to grab a timer like this, go ahead and set a 25-minute timer for yourself. Once you have set this timer, watch a video, download CapCut for free, and just learn how to cut the ends of clips off. And then once you've cut them off, attach the two clips of the asset and the hook together. And this will save you so much time because you won't have to wait for a video editor to send it back to you. And you also won't have to pay out the ridiculous amount of money that it takes to edit a long form video. Because remember, you're posting 3 times a week, which means that volume is what you're actually going after, not this crazy little niche quality thing. So that's as simple as editing should be. It takes me roughly 10 minutes per video to edit and just throw the clips together. And then it goes to the launching phase. So when you are uploading a video, first things first is that you want to pick one title that you want to try first. And then you want to test both of the 2 thumbnails that you actually had. If that doesn't do well, you're then going to go ahead and try a completely new title and maybe even a new thumbnail if both of the ones that you tried had a low click-through rate. And I'll show you exactly how to do this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up TubeBuddy, which is the software, and it's a Legend account. It might cost you like $30 a month or so. You're going to click to the A/B test section, and you can actually see a lot of the A/B tests that I have going on right now. So to show you an example, you can see 2 thumbnails that I had. One had a 3.8% click-through rate, and one actually has a 6.32% click-through rate. So of these 2 titles, I know that this is the one that's going to get the video an extremely higher amount of views. So I'm going to set this to the main thumbnail that I have. And the way that you do this is you're just going to go create an A/B test. If you're initially posting a video, you're going to want to go ahead and just do a thumbnail test. If you're going ahead and rehashing the title, you're going to want to go ahead and do the metadata and title test. Once you do that, you're just going to click through one of them. Then you're going to select 14 days, just because you have a smaller channel, statistically significant, it's going to take months. Then you're not going to click the start test ASAP. You're going to do the schedule the date, and you're going to put it to yesterday, which is going to immediately start it. Drop the other thumbnail in, and you're going to click start test. And now you're going to have the click-through rate going ahead, and it will update as soon as the video goes live, so you're good to go, and you can just immediately change it as the video uploads. And what we use is honestly bare bones simple. When you're trying to scale to $100,000 a month in 90 days, you have 3 different sources that you can use. You have paid ads, network, organic. And a lot of people are going to be biased and say that one or the other is the best. But to actually do this sustainably and to hit it consistently, you're going to be using all 3 of them in tandem. And what that looks like is when you first get started, you're going to have people in your network that already know, like, and trust you. You're going to cash this goodwill in and get some initial cash in the door. What that's going to do is it's going to fuel your ads. So if you don't have cash on hand already, your ads are going to start up here, and you're going to be scaling your ads, which is represented by this purple line, to a point where you're going to hit a flat line. You're going to scale the ads to a flat line here where the spend is going to remain the same. And then in addition to that, the return that you get from it, represented by this red line here, is also going to remain roughly the same. And that's going to set a base level of cash flow and profit that your business actually makes. While this whole thing is happening though, what you're also going to be doing is you're going to be using your organic traffic here as you begin posting until you hit what I like to call the explosion point, where your organic begins to pick up and compound exponentially, just like we had with this documentary series over here that managed to fuel all the customers that brought us to this $100,000 a month right over here. And when we do this, it's going to then scale to what I like to call the equilibrium point, where then you have an exponential margin being created because your ad costs are fixed And now everything that you gain in addition, because the costs are fixed of organic, is going to be pure profit that you make. And then instead of just making $100,000 a month and flexing on people, this is actually net profit landing in your bank account. Now, a dark truth in the info space is that a lot of coaches go secretly broke with Chad scaling, and I've been there myself. What happens a lot of the time is, as you can see here, we have the ad spend, which on the graph above, you can see we have go at a fixed cost and flatline from this point on. But what happens a lot of the time, the mistake that I used to make in the past, is when you begin to actually see good returns on your ad spend represented here. This might be a 3x ROAS at the very start here, but it might get all the way up to an 8 to 10x ROAS, just like I was seeing with my own coaching business. And from that point on, you go, all right, well, let's scale this thing to the moon. Let's go to $1 million a month. This is the opportunity. This is it. And then from that point on, when you scale your spend, you actually have to begin advertising to a colder market. And because of that, it's inevitable that your ROAS shrinks. And when you don't have any other alternative revenue sources that are significant compared to the amount that you're spending, it goes to a point where you might be making a lot of money, but you're also spending a lot of money, and you are now secretly broke, relying on credit card billing intervals and whatnot to stay afloat. And it's not a fun position to be in. As you can see here, this is me probably in one of the most painful periods of my life, hiding it with a smile and a very nice background, penthouse, luxury sports cars, all this stuff. And it's also the kind of time in your life where you're having these late nights on the whiteboard trying to figure out the secret to the world. But ultimately, this is not the way to do it. You want to focus on creating the exponential margin that you're getting over here. And the start to doing that is just understanding how to flatline your ad costs. Now, diving into the other thing, in addition to ad spend that people spend way too much money on, it is the dream team that when you hire at first actually sucks. In addition to the ads that you're spending, this is just going to compound onto the fixed cost that you already have to spend to keep the business afloat. It's going to create managerial complexity, going to lose effectiveness for a reason I'm about to explain. And really, you should only be hiring activities that are no longer the number one priority to grow the business, but the priority to grow the business falls under the entire umbrella of sales right now. You should be the person selling to get the first cash in the door, and the exact same thing on the back end. You're trying to get social proof and a working delivery system, so you should be the person delivering. And then from that point on, when you try and outsource it, you're going to lose effectiveness. And ultimately, what you should do is just completely cut out the sales team, completely cut out the back end team here. And there's the potential for content if it's something that you don't already enjoy making. And this is what I like to call unscalable personalization. When you do this, you're going to have exponentially higher conversion rates, faster iteration time to build your system, and you're going to be focusing on the only priority that you actually should have as a coach at this point, which is literally just selling your stuff. And a very big lesson that I learned is that you owe it to your clients to get more clients. And the reason for this is because when you actually sign on more clients, you're going to get more data and actually learn to improve your service delivery more and more and more, and you're not going to be desperate, which means you can focus on dedicating a lot more time to everyone you actually work for and have a way more fun and fulfilling business in general. And then what you can do in this unscalable phase as well is leverage agencies to perform different functions of the business and conserve time to focus on your genius zone activities. The reason why I'm an advocate for agencies and not actually for hiring an in-house team during this period of intense scaling is, yes, it might cost a little bit more than an in-house team, but you are not given any of the managerial complexity of actually delivering for all these people at once. And what that allows you to do is remain happy, have lots of time, and focus on optimizing your own schedule, your own routine to get the absolute most out of your business. And you can hit that first $100,000 month solo or with 1 to 2 subcontractors. And then from that point on, begin to use that cash flow to build out an actual infrastructure and hire real talent. Now, to dive into the unit economics that guarantee success, the conversion KPIs are so dead simple. And I see so many people overcomplicate this. They have these crazy spreadsheets calculating the CAC to LTV ratio and all these things. And I promise you, it is so simple to actually hit this. You're either going to have a $10,000 price point, or you're going to have a $5,000 price point, or you're going to have a $3,000, 300 price point, but you actually only have to let people on at that full price. And the reason why is because we can use both of these to get a $3,300 AOV, or average order value. This pretty much just means that every single person that onboards with you, this is the average amount they're paying up front. And the reason why that's important is because we can use extremely simple math to then say, all right, well, if we can onboard 30 customers in a month, we now hit that $100,000 a month in new cash collected. And that simply breaks down to just signing on one customer a day, which is a very, very simple and easy frame to break through your mind of like, all right, well, why didn't I sign a client today? I can just sign one client per day. And if I can do that, I'll hit $100,000 a month. It's the simple frame that we actually embedded that allowed us to do this. And then from that point on, it's extremely simple. You're going to need 125 booked calls at a 75% show rate. That's going to lead to 100 showed calls. And from that point on, you're going to have a 33% close rate, which means that you only need to book 3 calls per day. 3 calls per day, 1 client per day. Extremely simple. The next question I usually get is, well, Alex, how do I actually book these appointments? Because the coaching space is so saturated. There's so many people doing what I do. How do I actually stand out and book appointments? And it's extremely simple, but nobody seems to be able to actually create a framework to pull this off. And I like to have what I call the single authority niche, which is pretty much in your total addressable market, or TAM, there is a lot of people talking about the same stuff. And if you want to segment it to the top of funnel stuff, the middle of funnel stuff, and then the bottom of funnel stuff, and then like the ocean where nobody is willing to go, you have the big players in your space talking about very broad, very general things. For us in the marketing agency space, we had Iman Godzi talking about the 5 best habits for teenagers. We had other guys talking about the best business model to make money online. Then we had the middle market where people were talking about social media marketing and how to sign clients and whatnot. Then we had people that were talking about, in maybe this section, how to book appointments, strategies for actually delivering and doing ads. And then finally, we had where we specialized in how young guys and teenagers can get their first client, and pretty much just using Instagram outreach. And because we're in this super, super niche down place, nobody else is talking about what we're talking about. And that makes us absolutely one of one. When you can find a genuine single authority topic, it gives you a monopoly, and every single other person, the competitors, become your business partners, because Iman and every single person above us, which I think 99% of our market were, they're funneling down customers who are going to find out about us. So we love them. We love them. They're making us money, and we didn't have to go out and create all this crazy top funnel content to do that. We just stayed at the bottom here and collected our cash. And I like to give homage to Alex Hormozi and $100 million offers, because when you actually niche down like this, you have the ability to charge more. So this is the same time management product here, except as you can see, as we take it from time management for sales professionals all the way down to time management for outbound B2B power tool and sales gardening reps, there are still thousands of these people in the world. However, the price has gone from $20 to now being $2,000, which we can then warrant the charge because it's specifically tailored for them and actually achieving unique abilities. The only caveat to this entire strategy here is that the person that you select in that very, very small TAM needs to be someone willing to spend money. With the super hyper niche of just helping people get their first client, we were limited to doing around $50,000 a month, because even if we talked to all those people, they didn't have the cash to spend on $5,000 or $10,000 product. So it was only when we find that super hyper niche, again, we were helping people that were already at that 5 to 10K a month mark, we were actually able to hit that first $100,000 a month. But we use this TAM and single authority niche to then go into the lead generation KPIs. So pretty much we want to go for a $50 cost per call. Extremely simple, extremely easy if you're using Instagram ads or story ads, anything of that sort. Then what you're going to be doing is you're going to be spending at a max $6,250 if you have a working outbound strategy, which I'm going to show later in this video, or your YouTube is converting you a consistent amount of calls every single month. This can be supplemented and brought down, but at the absolute maximum, you have to spend $6,250 to get 125 booked calls. Once again, supplement with outbound, supplement with YouTube. You're gonna be posting 3 times a week, ultra long YouTube videos, kind of like the one you're watching right now, where you just go super in depth into the information you're actually covering, and you want to assume nobody's watching. When I make these videos, I'm somebody who makes YouTube videos for my clients that get thousands of views and convert them customers. Yet on this channel, I'm completely okay with getting 50 to 100 views per video, because I understand that I'm talking about such a niche down market and such a single authority that there really aren't going to be that many people that care. But as this industry grows, more and more people are going to care. So when you assume no one watches, you reverse engineer the KPIs to where you don't need to rely on the YouTube algorithm. As someone that works with the YouTube algorithm as a full-time job, this is important to actually do. Now, diving into the tactical actions you actually need to take. And the frame that I'm going to use for this section is, well, if I went broke today with no prior audience and had to implement this entire strategy to get back to $100,000 a month in 90 days, what would I actually do? And I've got a few phases for doing this. I have the launch phase, I have the cash in phase, I have the investment phase, and I have the max solo potential phase, and I have the scaling phase here. And I actually did this 3 months ago when I launched my company, 7-Figure Creator. As you can see on this channel, I documented daily quickly the process of me actually building my business and going through each of these sections here. Now, pretty much when I'm actually running this company, Seven Figure Creator, I'm right now in the max solo potential phase, and I'm going to be going through this for probably the next 1 to 2 months before moving into the scaling phase. But when I started, it was just quite simple. I had to create my YouTube channel, I had to create my Instagram page, and if you already have them, it's just rebranding it to your single authority. You're also going to want to create your ad account and get that hyper niche that is then embedded to all of these things over here. This is extremely simple. This should take you 1 to 2 days max. Everybody at the minimum should be in the cash in phase. So you're going to want to cash in any people that you have in your network, any people that you get referrals from. And if you can't do that, or in addition to doing that, you want to get a working outbound strategy. I see so many coaches who are averse to the idea of actually reaching out to their target demographic because it diminishes their frame or something. But if you want to get cash in the front door and you don't have the ability to attract people to you, you don't have any frame to begin with. So you should be willing to actually go out to reach out to people. So by doing 50 to 100 outbound per day, you can supplement whatever that ad cost is if you don't have the money to spend. And then what you're going to do is something very interesting that I don't see a lot of people talk about. Because we are assuming nobody is watching, we're going to go and do a daily YouTube video and it's going to be doing a daily IG reel. When I was in this phase here, that is exactly what I did. You can see back to back to back, the days count all the way up to, I believe I did around 37 days of consistent daily execution, both on YouTube and on Instagram. And what that does is, even if the content is extremely low quality, barely anybody is watching, you're posting so frequently that you're going to get a base level impressions that is going to establish your brand, so that when someone sees you, they're like, all right, this guy's cool, da da da, and people begin to buy into your very small and initial vision that you have set up. Then something that almost nobody does is you're going to work for free until you've onboarded at least 5 clients. For context, when I was doing this as somebody who scaled a business to $2 million a year, I still work for free, and I onboarded 12 clients completely for free that I actually worked with on a completely free basis to do their YouTube, to consult them, to build their sales funnels, anything they needed completely for free, so that I could get case studies and then sell them onto extended timeline offers after I had built the goodwill with them. And that got me to around my first 5,000-ish K a month mark. And I now had the money completely bootstrapped because I invested all the money from my previous business to actually go ahead and launch paid ads. So when you're launching paid ads, it's going to be extremely simple. Whatever budget you have that you can comfortably spend without worrying about conversions is where you want to start. You can scale it up as you begin seeing returns. You don't have to be spending the $6,250 to actually minimum get returns. You can get returns at much smaller spends, but that's where you want to be at to book those 125 appointments. Then once people have begun paying attention to you, you have the ads turned on, you're going to move into just doing 3 times a week, extremely heavy info YouTube videos here, because doing the daily videos on both YouTube and Instagram can be pretty draining. And naturally, because where your business is going, you're going to want to also begin positioning yourself as an expert. You're also going to be creating your flagship offer with a guarantee and risk reversal at this point. This is extremely important because it's going to be the foundation for actually signing on customers at that higher ticket price point and having that minimum $3,300 average order value. If you can get higher, that's amazing. And then you're going to scale your outbound down, not to dollars, but to a manageable point here. For example, at my business, Seven Figure Creator, I still send 25 outbound a day, even though I have ads turned on, even though I'm doing YouTube, and even though I'm collecting client referrals, because it's a source of income that I've cracked and is going to work and provide me consistent income no matter what and remove fluctuation. Then we're going to move into the max solo potential phase. This is before you begin to go into the next phase, which is building out a team, hiring a setter and closer, whatnot. You want to max out the solo potential you have. This is the phase of your life where you've got to have your Whoop band on, you got to make sure you're sleeping well, waking up every single day and having the time to consistently actually execute and roll out all the functions of your business. You're going to want to invest into a content team initially at this point. You're going to want to scale the ad spend that you actually have to the KPI of the 125 appointments relative to whatever your cost per call is. You're going to want to focus on clients and sales while automating a lot of the content and the ads process for you. And then you want to hire out anytime vortexes. So for example, in my business, even though I don't really consider it a coaching business, I'm making YouTube videos for people, which if you'd like me to do and you're a coach, you can schedule a call below. I've hired out a complete in-house content team to actually help my clients do that. And the reason why that's actually important is because now I have the ability to just focus on the strategy and the aspect that's actually going to bring money in. And then once you've done that, this is going to be the phase where you've either hit your first $100,000 a month or you're extremely, extremely close to it, and you're going to want to flatline it and move it consistently into the scaling phase so that you can do this month after month after month. You're going to want to hire a setter and closer, and you're not just going to want to take your hands off the sales process then and say, all right, you guys got it covered. You want to have them compete against you on a daily basis. You should still be taking calls with the most qualified prospects. You should still be jumping in the DMs sometimes, actually going out and setting people, because you need to put them to the standard that you were once at, even though they might only achieve 50 to 70% of it, and have that be the juxtaposition for their performance, and to also make sure that you don't just take your hands off and it all goes to crap and you lose all your money. You also want to hire a CSM at this point to take care again of the time vortex of client communication, if for example that is very heavy in the kind of coaching business that you run. And then what you're going to do is you're going to iterate your content. This is why I recommend investing into a content team in the previous phase, because the sooner you can get it done, the better, until it hits the exponential equilibrium point that I shared with you all the way over here, where again, you begin breaking into the exponential profit of your coaching business. And that is the overall gist of how you can actually execute this.